Let me know when to open it, because I'm going to do the prices right. Totally doing that this time.
Okay, your event is starting. Okay, it looks like we're live.
We are live?
Yep.
Welcome to the Weekly Poll with your today's host, Rob from Marvel Explained. So let's call down our contestants. Come on down and seat 204, Sal and Tiffany.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun,
Dun, dun, dun.
And seat
Coming down to the thing.
48, because we have a giant stadium today. Come on down, Dave Howland. And in seat 3, come on down, Benny Potter. Me? Today you're all going to be bidding on an issue of Multiversity. How much do you think that this is actually worth?
1 cent.
Dynafire! I'm gonna say it's $3.99. No, Multiversity. I'm gonna say $2.99.
You are both wrong, but the closest without going over is Sal and Tiffany. It was $4.99 for this.
We're going to the showcase.
Spin the giant wheel.
Man, you guys know way too much about that show. It has been like
Were you
20
never sick?
years since I watched
Yeah,
it.
like,
never
did you never stay home from school? Because
Were you never
if you were home from
Well,
school,
Man,
you were
I was
watching
just
Price is
laid
Right.
up for 2 weeks.
If anybody who doesn't know who we are,
I was
and
watching
I'm
Law
pretty sure
and Order
everyone does.
SVU the whole time.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
I used to watch Days of Our Lives. Like, you jump in the middle of it,
Oh.
and then you see, like, one episode, and you just get locked in for the entire days. That and General Hospital.
Yeah.
And Andy
My
Griffith's show.
ex-girlfriend used to watch Days of Our Lives, and I used to record it for her. So
Oh god. I
Well,
never
what
got
about the
into
Andy
Days of Our
Griffith show?
Lives.
the Andy Griffith Show.
All right. As you guys know, as usual, I'm Benny from Comic Story, and that is Rob from Marvel Explained. That is Dave from Comics Reviews. That is Sal and Tiffany from TV Little House. Tiffany is our special guest for today's topic, and she's from the show Bonus Round, a really excellent show that looks at some of the older NES titles. I actually watched your show. So, by the way, you were horrible at Lolo. So anyway,
I am so bad at Lolo. I really am.
I was watching that, and I'm like, I don't remember it being this hard.
It's hard.
It was hard. Without a
So-
manual or anything to reference, it was pretty hard. Like,
I guess that's the case.
I won't
So,
let Daniel tell me things.
Yeah.
So.
Today's
That's the other
usual
thing.
pre-show, we're not doing a versus. Today is Sal's week. Sal's going to give us a topic. We're going to debate it, and then we're going to give you guys. Sal's going to pick the winner. Actually, we should let our guest pick who has the greatest
agree.
argument.
Oh. Okay.
So, what is today's debate, Sal?
Today's debate is: does Batman carry condoms in his utility belt?
Oh.
Because I feel like the guy doesn't get nearly as much action as he probably would as Batman, but he's always prepared. And I think that he is a great, forgive the pun, wingman for the other Robins. I think that if Tim Drake, and spoiler, we're gonna get down, Batman's like, whoosh, I got this.
I got this.
Well, he does have anything and everything he needs in that belt.
Yeah.
He
would
never really
leave-
runs out of anything.
The
Yeah.
question is, does he leave real estate where thermite could be for rubbers?
But the point
Anyway.
of his belt is that he has space for everything he needs.
Right. It's basically just an interdimensional well where he keeps
Right.
everything. It's like Hermione's bag.
No,
Oh, really?
No, she didn't.
You're going to
keep-
compare the bat condoms to Hermione's bag.
I mean, okay,
I don't know,
ladies
during-
and gentlemen,
during,
I would like to go on here and say, I'm sorry I have to interrupt here.
Of course.
If we're having a discussion involving condoms and Hermione, I am most satisfied with that discussion, and I feel it needs to continue along that path. Because Emma Watson is super hot. So
Super hot.
just keep that in the back of your head and let us continue
Fair
with the
enough.
debate. So.
And here's another thing
I'm doing my tweets.
that's counter to the point I just made, I suppose.
Okay.
And that's if he does carry condoms, how did Damian Wayne happen?
That's my evidence for no, he does not.
Yeah, the only
carry
time
that.
we actually do have evidence. No, Damian Wayne is not. I mean, are we spoiling a book that's over 5 years
No,
old?
I have the video on my channel. Everyone here should have already watched it.
Okay, he's not really his son. He's a clone.
Right.
He should have
no,
been his son.
you're spoiling more recent stuff.
Yeah, like
Technically, he's still a son. Just technically, Batman also has like 30 other clone reject sons.
right, exactly. He has a Leviathan son that's like 8 feet tall and kills
Right.
his other son. I
Right.
think that actually there's
And then
evidence.
Aquaman buried all of the other clones under the ocean. So
Yeah, I think that because the idea was that like Damian should have come from the Demon's Head storyline when Batman and Talia first got together and they first met Ra's al Ghul during the Neil Adams run.
right.
That if Damian had to be a clone in order to be in existence, that means that Batman was careful and probably did carry condoms, and she had to clone him. Otherwise, she would have been able to get a specimen.
No.
without
If
any
you
issue.
actually look at how she got the sample, she definitely liquored up Batman and had her way. Now, maybe, if we're going into some very weird areas here, but maybe because Batman, you would think even intoxicated would think to use the bat condom on his bat sword, but
I mean,
but
his bat
assuming even intoxicated, he did not have a bat condom for his bat sword, and Talia had him drunk. She had his way with him. Now, let's go ahead and assume that each one of his kids, she had his way once. So she had him drunk for like 12 hours and just sit there just having fun with the bat sword over and over and over. So
just
mean,
harvested him.
I think it
with
just needs
no
to be
bat
said that
sword balloon. So
I think it just needs to be said that Benny said that she had liquored up Batman.
Yeah.
We just need
And I
to
thought
rehash that
Batman
statement.
didn't drink. I thought the idea was that Batman was a teetotaler.
I have no idea about Batman's drinking habits. I would think that a man that dresses up as like a giant bat and runs around in the middle of the night probably has like a liquor problem.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
If
if you read the actual story, he shows up. They just escaped from something, and she's like, "Here, have this drink." Now that first one was probably roofied. I'll go ahead and give him to
Right?
that.
I mean, come on. Who takes the first sip of a drink from Talia al Ghul?
Right, even if you like her, she's still like one of your main villains and the daughter of your worst villain. So
You do not
Excuse
want
me,
to.
Mr. Wayne.
Now-
Does this smell like chloroform?
Yeah.
Put it up on his
Another thing I'm going to use as, I guess I would say, circumstantial evidence is whenever there's a storyline with Catwoman, he gets awful excited.
Yeah.
So the thing
She's never
is,
had a kid. Oh, no, wait, she did.
would he be the type of person that would be prepared for that event?
Oh yeah.
well,
Oh, yeah.
if
He's
it's a Catwoman
prepared for
situation,
everything.
in Earth 2, he actually has a child with Catwoman too. So what I think, and I'm going to make my debate. My debate is he's had accidental children all over the place. We've never established whether or not Huntress was intentional or just an accidental.
All over the multiverse.
He just sprayed all over the multiverse.
Now,
So I'm going to say, since we have multiple Huntresses across the multiverse,
Yeah.
that Batman is not careful and therefore does not have bat rubbers for his bat sword. So that is where I'm going to stand on this.
I think that the Huntresses are all deliberate, and I think that Damian Wayne's existence and the fact that he had to be harvested as opposed to become a natural birth, I think that is evidence enough that and especially I think that swinging around the rooftops and seeing Catwoman for the first time, being like, a chick who's crazy enough to put on a catsuit and run around like I am. And he went home right then and
Here's
there.
my question about Damian. I thought Damian was the natural birth, but then they used the genetic material of Batman to clone 40 others.
Yeah, I thought the idea was that it was implied that he was natural, but in fact he was a clone. But for Batman, it didn't matter. That's what I always thought.
I have no
Maybe
idea.
that's it.
Like, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
don't
anything
know
about
if that's
DC.
true or not.
All we're doing though is Rob is sitting there going, and this is why I don't read DC.
This is why I don't read DC.
And
man.
Rob's like, "What the fuck, man?"
I mean,
So,
maybe
Tiffany,
Wayne Tech just makes terrible condoms.
So
Yeah,
Dave,
maybe
where
they
do you
just
stand
all
on the
broke.
bat condom?
they all
Yeah, they're Wayne Tech condoms.
So you're saying that he does carry them, but they all broke. That's your argument?
It would make sense.
Well, I mean,
I don't know. I think if Lucius Fox had anything to do with those condoms, they're going to be. They're also going to do taxes for you. Like they're really, really smart.
And they also may be the reason why there is clones. They do the whole process down there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they don't get you pregnant. They create a person for you in another lab somewhere. They like 3D print your genetic material in a lab. That's I think what they do. It analyzes your genetic material, then it transfers it to a computer, it 3D prints a human, and then puts it into a cloning vessel for you.
that would
Is that
actually
your
be pretty
argument,
amazing.
Sal? Because I'm pretty sure we can disprove that.
Yeah, it's probably not really. Well, No. Maybe
So
multiverse.
Tiffany,
It would
our
be
special
one
guest, out of our
crazy-
3 arguments, I'm stating that that there is no bat condoms. Sal is claiming that they 3D print all humans, and Dave is claiming that they all just broke.
They're
What do
defect.
you think is the most viable?
Well, I have one question that nobody touched on. Does nobody think that Alfred may or may not have packed him some just in
Boom.
case?
Boom, just like that. Alfred said, "Hey man, carry one in your wallet just in case."
Like he just
I
slipped
can
it
see
in there.
that.
And then
I-
it's
could
up
you-
to him if he's going to use
You
it.
know, I would argue that Alfred is so hell-bent against Bruce Wayne being Batman at this point that he might do that, but he might also poke holes in it. Like, Master Wayne, don't forget these. And I was like, wow, you're a lifesaver. Thanks a lot, Alfred. And he's like, yes, it'll be only a matter of time.
No. What happened when Bruce Wayne had a kid?
Yeah.
He turned him into a Robin.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a very good point, and you got to think about it this way too. Could you just picture that right now? Alfred's sitting at the Batcave, watching the computer, seeing Batman about to get it on Catwoman. He just kind of rings in the air. Sir, check your lower left pocket.
Exactly.
I mean, I
Check
want to
your
see that.
bat wallet. Look for the ring.
I want to see an
I left
episode
you-
of like Maury Povich with like Bruce Wayne like dressed as Batman and like
All these.
Catwoman, and he was like, "You said that Damian Wayne is not your child. That is a lie." And he's
That
We've done
is
the
all.
DNA testing, and we've also found these other 50 Leviathan children that you had Aquaman kill.
I've got like at least 4 huntresses across the multiverse that all claim to be your
You're
dog.
done.
Like, hey, multiversity children don't count.
I don't know. Are there any in multiversity yet? Hold on. Oh, no, but issue 1, we already have Captain Carrot.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God we got Captain Carrot in there. We can't move forward until that.
Could
On a
not
side
have
note,
story
did anyone see what
without.
happened? Has anyone been reading World's Finest when they actually Huntress met Batman?
I saw a page from that. I didn't read the whole thing.
She refers to him from that point on as not dad.
Okay.
That's
It's
harsh.
like, come on, not dad, we have to go save Superman, and he's just kind of like,
yeah. That's by Jay. I think Jay Lee draws that now, right?
yeah.
Pretty cool, but also kind of weird.
Yeah. So what's the verdict then, Tiffany? Who has the
Well-
best argument?
Of course, I'm like,
No, it'd be impartial. It would ruin
I
the
am
results.
going to be impartial as much as I can. I mean, I did always grow up believing that Batman was always prepared, but at the same time, there is evidence to prove that maybe
Maybe
he's not so careful. So I think it probably is somewhere between Benny and Dave, where it's either they're faulty or he's either just, he doesn't care. He's just in the moment. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he gets laid so infrequently that, like, he's just like, no time.
It's not worth bringing them. I need the
If we base
space.
it on the amount of times he's actually been laid in the comics, then yes, we're going off of maybe once per year. So
He's not even thinking about it. He's
Yeah.
like, this is happening. This
Yeah.
never happens, and it's happening right now.
That's true.
I mean,
It did
he-
happen.
no
I'm
time to
never
worry about no
thinking
damn
about this.
condoms. Shit.
This is a guy. This is Batman, world's greatest detective, smartest guy in the entire DC universe, probably. Naturally smart.
Right.
He is around 24/7, all the members of the Justice League and their friends. We're talking people like Power Girl, world's greatest boobs with the boob window. We're talking, people like Wonder Woman running around in her bikini, and nothing happens.
Nope.
Yeah.
Maybe he just doesn't bring them. Maybe he's just like, it's not gonna happen.
Maybe he just feels it's not worth fumbling with the gloves in the package. He's like,
Yeah.
there's no time. There's no time, and I'm
Yeah,
not taking
it's
the
gonna
gloves
happen.
off.
It's gonna
if
happen.
I'm in the mood, it's now.
I'm wealthy enough. I can
Especially-
absorb this loss.
Especially if he only gets laid once a year.
So
Well,
wait, based upon Sal's latest bring up to this argument, maybe he does have multiple children, including with all those floozy girls that he pretends to be a playboy with.
Yeah,
and
he
then
does.
there's just an orphanage of Bruce Wayne children somewhere, like the children of Bruce Wayne.
Wow, that
How
would be
ironic
so
would
screwed
that
up.
be?
There's like a giant
How-
house of
Grant
Wayne's
Morrison
children.
read a whole series of like the abandoned children of Bruce Wayne. They're like the Wayne Brigade, and they're just like a bunch of kids of varying ages.
And then you would have the multiple kids. You would have the kids like like the normal kids from like the blondes that he sleeps with, and then you would have like Catwoman's kids in there. So like they would be stealing from the other kids, and there'd be like a whole adventure: the evil kids versus the good kids.
Yeah.
See, when
The
you
unwanted
can't
children of Bruce
tell- When you can't tell a real DC storyline from a
Right,
fake
it's a
DC
joke for me.
storyline,
It's true.
No, here's the kicker though. What made what Sal just said pretty viable? He prefaced it with Grant Morrison's.
Yeah. No, Grant Morrison
Yeah.
will write a book called The Unwanted Children of Bruce Wayne, and it
He
would
would do
freaking
that.
sell like gangbusters.
If that book comes out in 3 months, they stole it from this podcast.
Yep.
Yes. Can we
Called
all
it.
agree that we are going to go and file a copyright claim against DC?
I think that they would argue this
Intellectual
is
property
technically
theft.
fan fiction.
All right, so the definitive answer has been decided by Tiffany, and I guess from that point we'll end the pre-show debate. Now that everyone's been able to come into here, next week we'll probably be doing a versus, or we may be doing a new segment that we're kind of planning out, in which Dave discusses what you should be buying this month, and we discuss if we agree with him or not. I'm not sure if Dave's working it out, and I haven't been paying attention when he talks. So.
No.
So anyway, let's go ahead to the main topic. Rob, what are we talking about today, man?
We're talking about Axis. We're talking about Future's End. Dave and
His
myself
assistant
have
about
been,
talking to you.
we've been wanting to talk about, I guess, a little bit of a discussion on Inhumans, Vin Diesel, and so on, but not, just a light discussion there. And I think that one of the coolest discussions that I think we're going to have today, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to have Tiffany on, was we wanted a woman's perspective of the depiction of female characters in Marvel Comics.
Yep.
Well, I
Which
say,
I think, like I said, will
overall.
probably be the coolest discussion.
No, I say we should discuss them overall with the Marvel Comics portrayal that just came out.
Yes,
But
in
that is
conjunction.
just the latest in a slew
Yeah,
Yeah.
of over-sexualized characters. That is
Yeah.
what that is.
yeah.
That is not like groundbreaking, brand new. We've never seen a butt crack before.
Right. Oh my God, women are being objectified. Like, boy, this is the objectification of women. Like, we better be careful. Get a lid on this now before it really gets out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah, because no
It's
one's
not
ever
the
seen
first
anything
time
like
this
this.
happened.
No.
But yeah. All right. Well, then, how do you want to kick it off, man?
It's your show, Rob.
Oh.
I did my hosting duties.
I thought you were talking- I thought you were talking to
He's over there vaporizing.
He's like,
Over here
what are we
vaping,
doing?
man.
Yeah,
I'm
Grey
just
Ghost.
up-
Let's do
Dude,
it.
there's this new e-juice that just came out called Cloud Science. It's called Gamma. It's peach, guava, mango, and cream, and it is amazing. Oh my god, it is so good. It tastes so
And I see-
freaking good.
That is still nicotine, right?
Well, it's got like 2.5
Because
milligrams.
I just
of
discovered
nicotine,
last
so-
week that medicinal marijuana is also vaporized.
Oh really?
Oh,
I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I had
That's
no
Rob's
a
like,
idea.
sure
discussion
you
for a
didn't.
couple podcasts, So, you know,
That's not what this
when we get invited on High Times, that's
Well, I definitely want to kick off Axis. And the
Okay.
reason why is because Marvel has announced that Apocalypse is returning with the Axis storyline.
Yeah.
But here's the weird thing about Axis. What Marvel has said with Axis is it's going to be a switch of like everything that we've seen so far. So good guys are going to be bad guys are going to be good guys, or something like that. I don't
Yeah,
know
they're
why
gonna.
they're going
It
that
sounds
direction.
really familiar. Benny, doesn't that sound familiar? The idea of like supervillains being superheroes.
Oh,
no.
it's nothing, not like anything I've heard before, like a whole series in which somebody got trapped in somebody else's head called Forever Evil and Lex Luthor took control and is now trying to join the Justice League. I don't know what you're
that's
talking
not what
about.
that is.
Oh no.
Okay. That's how you guys want to be.
You know, for the record, I'm just going to go ahead and say, and I'm going to start a massive flame war over this, but for the recorded history, for the most part, Marvel has always followed suit on DC. They always follow what DC does. They copy everything down. But here's the
No.
kicker. Because DC did it first, Marvel goes, how can we do it better?
It's true. All right, fair enough. Marvel
Yeah,
does
that's
do it
exactly
better.
right. Marvel does it better. That's the difference. Marvel does everything better. You guys have the Flash. We have Quicksilver.
Yeah.
You know, the Flash does not beat Quicksilver. I'm sorry.
Oh,
No,
man.
Flash
yeah,
beats
not by a long
Quicksilver.
shot. No, sir. No, sir.
Quicksilver
Flash-
is.
Flash was going really super fast and traveling through time before Quicksilver.
Okay,
No,
Quicksilver
the
did the
Flash,
same
the
thing.
Flash on a weekend goes to the prehistoric age and just messes things up.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah, but
Flash,
have you-
the Flash for vacation goes through the dimensional barrier. I mean,
Yeah. Well, Quicksilver caused House of M, whereas Flash caused Flashpoint. So I think between the two of them, Flash has the strike against him.
See, I don't really know about Flashpoint.
Well, does that
Watch
really
Back
make the
Issues
Flash?
coverage from Flashpoint. You'll be in for a
Does that
treat.
really
Flashpoint
make
is the
Flash
reason for the New
better?
52.
Huh?
Does that really make Flash better or worse?
No, it makes it worse.
Oh,
if
there's
he
a cat.
screws things up.
No.
Oh,
because
yeah,
Quicksilver
I've
didn't-
had
It's
no,
a kitty.
Quicksilver didn't do House of M. Quicksilver is the catalyst for House of M.
Yeah, I'm
But he
just
didn't
saying.
just travel through time and alter everything for House of M.
Yeah, that's true. All
But
right,
even-
fair.
The
even
Flash
then,
was
like-
the direct consequence for the Flashpoint situation.
Yes.
Hence why it's called Flashpoint.
Well, but even
Now, here's a
after
question
House of
about
M-
Axis. I also see trades, and I've seen them all over the place, of Red Skull as Onslaught.
Oh my god.
That's what we were going to discuss. Red Skull has now got the brain of Professor Xavier,
Yep.
and he's now in the Onslaught outfit, making him Red Onslaught.
Yeah. He could just call
Yes.
himself Onslaught. We don't need to have all these prefixes. Like female Deadpool being Lady Deadpool. You could just be
At least it's not like Red Skull with Xavier's brain Onslaught. Man, that is one hell of a log name for a villain.
Yeah, that was actually, I picked up Uncanny Avengers, and then the last page reveal of Red Skull holding Professor X's brain. I was like, I'm out. This is not.
Dude, that is literally where I left too. I got to the end of that, and I'm like, no.
I'm like, that's not. To quote Ethan on my show, that's not how that works. You can't just take a brain out.
And give yourself mutant powers.
No, you can't do that.
It's almost like he was eating it. Like, now I'm
You
super.
can't take a brain out.
Yeah, you can't take a brain out
just
and
remove a
use
brain out of
it. Like, it's
somebody's head.
dead. He's dead.
Says who? Who says you
Says
can't just
science.
take
Science
a
says-
brain out of somebody's
Science
head? and
says
put
you
it in
cannot
somebody
just
else's
remove
head?
a brain and gain the powers of the brain.
Yeah, but-
Wait,
is
Siler
dead.
did it.
The
Siler
man
did it
is
in Heroes. All right.
But
They
Siler
take
is a
the brain-
superhero whose exact power was to do that.
Yeah.
Well, that's beside the point.
No, it's not.
The fact remains that Siler was
That's not
able
an
to do
argument.
that.
The only thing you could do is argue that, like, Red Skull has access to AIM super science, and so they kept it alive somehow.
See, I'm not sure how I feel about.
But that
Red
still doesn't
Skull
understand how you
Onslaught
get the
kinda
powers
character.
of it.
Yeah?
But I don't. All right. Onslaught was better when it was just Magneto hating humans, Xavier being frustrated with humans, and it was one person. Boom! I'm going to take over the world, and then you got Thor.
Yes.
That was the best version of Onslaught. I don't really know if I'm going to like a Red Skull Onslaught character.
Well, it could be
Well,
that,
we'll
like,
see how
maybe
powerful
he'll be
it is.
jockeying for control. Like, maybe Onslaught will be trying to take over Red Skull. Like, maybe there'll be a thing there.
I don't know.
But now we're gonna have
Like
a whole
Superior
thing, like an internal
Spider-Man?
monologue struggle. This was a bad idea. I shouldn't have taken over your body, Onslaught. And then Xavier shows up and he's like, "You're both idiots," and then Onslaught's like, "I'm overpowered."
They could actually resurrect Professor X this way.
They could.
As
but-
Onslaught. Well, they've already technically resurrected him as future son of Professor X, who looks exactly like Professor X.
Yeah.
But see, here's a problem. Here's a couple of things that I see going on. One, I think Marvel is like moving away from like the old school stuff. Like we saw Jean Grey get killed off. Jean Grey's probably never going to come back. Like people
she'll
thought she
come
was.
back.
She's
No, she'll
already
be back.
back.
People-
You are aware of that, right?
No, Jean Grey's not back. Are you talking about Hope Summers?
No,
No.
I'm talking about past Jean Grey, the one that came from the
I'm
past.
not. No, I'm not talking about like the old Jean Grey and Marvel Now showing up
Yeah.
in the current generation. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking
They're just
about.
going to merge her consciousness with the current Jean Grey and make her the
I'm
same.
talking about Jean Grey dying and Uncanny X-Men.
No,
and Jean Grey
they're
coming
establishing that this new Jean Grey is going to become the old Jean Grey, but more powerful. She
Man.
has the old memories.
But
She's
we
been
have,
tapping into them.
we have all that history with like Jean Grey and
And
the
the
X-Men and X Factor
X-Men.
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And like there's all that history. Then Jean Grey becomes Dark Phoenix and dies. So I don't that's the Jean Grey that I'm talking about.
Yeah, she'll be back.
Man, it's not going to be the
No.
same.
It's-
No,
I'm
it'll be
telling you
really
right now,
lame and
it's gonna-
stupid, and they
it's
won't
gonna
think
happen.
about it, and they'll just bring her
This
back
young Jean
on a
Grey.
whim.
This young Jean Grey is going to get all the memories back of the old Jean Grey. She's going to become that Jean Grey again. Because we've already implied that old Cyclops has a crush on young Jean Grey, and she's been getting the memories of everything that happened. Am I the only one reading all new X-Men?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Benny,
When
Benny,
Mystique showed up, I quit. I was like, oh yeah, it's an X-Men book. This is gonna be stupid.
It's probably like the best X-Men book right now.
It was
But
great.
in all
No, I-
seriousness, what they're doing is Jean Grey is becoming more powerful than the old Jean Grey ever was. And now because she got put on trial, and because she's been hanging out with Cyclops, and because all of the X-Men don't know what's going to happen to her, she has now pretty much gotten all of the old Jean Grey's memories back, and she's becoming that Jean Grey, but like evil and vindictive and telling everyone to fuck off.
Yes,
Sorry,
that's true.
censor that, Rob, in post-editing.
No,
It's like-
I stopped reading X-Men after X-Men Battle of the Atom. Like that's when I gave up.
They're gonna give us back old Jean Grey is gonna basically live on through young Jean Grey, and
Yes.
that's gonna be their excuse as to why she looks 20-something for the next 50 years of comic books.
So, all right, so here's my question then: have they explained how it is their conscious minds are merging into one? Because I thought I was under the impression that old Jean Grey was dead and gone.
what
Like,
they're,
her
do-
mind
what they're
was
doing right
You
now
know.
is what they're doing right now is new Jean Grey's telekinesis powers are so much more powerful than old Jean Grey that she's literally like taking all the memories from everyone else about the old Jean Grey and learning about old Jean Grey that way.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not Jean Grey.
No, she's becoming old Jean Grey in that manner. To that
Okay,
extent.
you know what that's like? That's like me painting a picture, And then Sal coming along and saying, I'm painting a picture. It's the same as Rob's picture because of what other people are telling me about Rob's picture. It's not the original.
You're
It's just
right,
a
and I
copy.
can say
It's not
exactly.
even
I can
close.
already foresee where this is going to go. What's going to happen is she's eventually going to become evil because right now everyone's pretty much yelling at her and they're trying to put her in prison for the Phoenix thing, and they're all blaming her for crap the old Jean Grey did. So what's going to end up happening is she's going to become evil because of that, and then the old Jean Grey's consciousness, or she's going to finally tap into it, is going to come back and be like, no, we're not evil.
Yeah, they could always argue that the old Jean Grey's consciousness went out into space or something, and then it's like been like untethered, and now because they introduced Jean Grey's purest body into the current timeline, it'll find it and gravitate towards it and latch onto it, and like.
And they've already established that these old X-Men are not the old X-Men. It's a different timeline, a different dimension, totally different.
Really?
People.
Okay.
And their powers are now. That's why we still have them. They can't put them back.
They're going away now. Actually, did you see where they're going next?
No, where are they going next?
They're putting the all new X-Men in the Ultimate Universe.
God, the Ultimate Universe is like a warehouse for all the shit they don't want to deal with.
Yeah,
It's like-
the Ultimate X-Men are going to go to the the all new X-Men, who are the displaced original 60s X-Men, are going to be sent to the Ultimate Universe.
Is it going to be in the Ultimate Universe, or are we still going to have the same like stories and stuff going, like the same book
in the Ultimate Universe? So like they're going to run into Miles Morales, and he's going to show them around.
See, it's then, like the Ultimate Universe is like the punishment room.
Well, no,
like,
but
like
what's
you
going
have
on
clearly
though?
Screwed up. Like go to the Ultimate Universe.
Oh, the Ultimate Universe Black.
What they've established at this point though is that basically Beast pulled them, the old X-Men.
Yep.
And he doesn't know where he got them from. They're not the 1960s. He went somewhere else. So every time he's tried to put them back, he can't. And the reason is because of all these events and altering of time, wherever Beast got them from doesn't exist anymore.
No, that was something they touched on at the end of Battle of the Atom, I thought.
Yeah.
Because like the whole battle of the Atom, that series was so stupid. The whole Battle of the Atom series was you had basically like 3 generations of X-Men. You had the old X-Men that were the ones we first saw, like when Iceman was like a giant snowman. And then you have like the current generation of X-Men, and then you have the future generation of X-Men who are all fighting together. And they actually introduced a character. She was really cool, and they didn't do anything with her, which I was so disappointed about. But she was able to manifest like these psychic monsters or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what her name was, but they just kind
Sure
of...
it wasn't Jean Grey, because she's doing all kinds of crazy shit.
No, it wasn't Jean Grey. This was a white-haired chick. But they didn't do anything with it. But nonetheless, at the end of that, they were saying, like, we have to protect the X-Men. Like, if they die, we die. And that was, like, the whole basis of the thing. So they were basically, like, the whole story, they were like, just stay here.
No,
because
because
they all just went and fought.
That's okay. Initially, what happened is this. This is totally off our topic, but hey, whatever. People love tangents. Let's do this. So, all new X-Men started up. They got brought in to try and convince Cyclops. They discovered that it wasn't going to work, and that now the all new X-Men were learning stuff about their futures that they didn't want to know. In case in point, Jean Grey was learning so much about her history, her powers, and everything that she could do. She was now manifesting all new, super powerful powers. Like she was blowing Phoenix Jean Grey out of the water in power levels.
Right, and this is with no effort or support from the Phoenix Force. It's just her by herself.
She was just turning into this crazy awesome of a being. So Beast tried to put them back before he made too much damage, but discovered he couldn't. And then that was when he discovered what happened. Now keep in mind, this whole thing came out of Avengers versus X-Men. Yes. When he tried to put them back, it's after Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
So the timeline, as they've said, has been plucked, and everything's rippled outwards. They don't know what's going on. So then in Battle of the Atom, I forget who it was, but someone died in the past. I want to say they killed off... I think it was Jean Grey died. It was a little while ago now. Someone died, and they discovered that it didn't affect the future people.
Oh.
And they were like, what's going on? Because now you're my ancestor. We can't put you back. And obviously, whatever happens to you doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
And so now we've been playing off that. And now the book's getting a little bit weird. Cyclops is now in space with his dad, Starjammers. He has his own book. He's doing that whole thing. Bobby Drake is now in love and having relations with X-23. Right. And Jean Grey is now honing her powers through Emma Frost. Am I really the only one that reads this?
Apparently, I need to get caught up on Marvel now.
After issue 9, I was like, I'm out. I can't do it. Because it was so I was having a really great ride, and then they revealed that like Mystique was starting to manipulate events and manipulate the younger X-Men, and I was like, oh yeah, this is an X-Men book.
Well,
Because
they-
X-Men books
they
are all
pretty
about
much
like that last page reveal, and you're like, oh, but everything's not gonna happen. It's just too.
The big thing that's happening now, the big protagonist isn't Mystique and all them. She pops up still, but the big protagonist is the future X-Men.
Yes.
So now, in the very future, which is what Battle of the Atom was, we have the Xavier's son, Wolverine's son. They were both the sons with Mystique, so that's the mother of the both of them. And what's going on now is they keep going back in time to prevent their future from happening. And the way they're doing it is they keep getting killed, destroyed, and like wrecked beyond belief. But when that happens, they send themselves a message in the future saying, "Don't do it that way again."
I heard
so then
about
they go
that.
back
That's
and do it again. Yeah.
Why are X-Men books all about time travel?
Yeah.
It's the
Okay.
only
Yeah.
way to keep- it's the only way to
Gabriel's
keep them
right. Yeah.
interesting.
X-23 is with. I always get Iceman and Angel the names mixed up, the real names. She's with Angel, not Iceman.
Angel is being in X-23, and like I think she actually was having a relationship with young Cyclops in the beginning of that, but then he left to go to space with his dad.
Yeah.
See,
that's pretty much how.
I'm looking at Battle of the Atom now, and I don't know what character you're talking. Oh, it was Beast, I think, who died. He was killed by a Sentinel.
Okay, I know
Is it
someone died.
Is it the one Sentinels? I don't think the one Sentinels existed at this point in time.
No, it's someone died. I don't remember who it was because they're back, obviously, whoever it was, and this was like 14 issues ago now.
Yeah.
Someone died. It was like almost like a heartbeat. Just it was quick how fast it happened, and then they were like, "Why didn't this affect the future?"
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And then they determined that it's actually from an alternate reality.
Right. We don't know. Well, that's what they're going through now. They don't know if that's because we've altered the future. Like time has been altered now. Or if they are from a completely different dimension in general. And the biggest argument for a different dimension is how strong Jean Grey is.
Yeah. That's funny. I wonder if Marvel is working on this, like if there's actually like a concrete plan, because in Spider-Man, the events of Amazing Spider-Man are directly influencing the 2099 universe.
Well, yeah. Well, Bendis supposedly, if you go back to his continuity issues, okay. And by the way, we will get to this. Is all about Axis because honestly, I think all new X-Men are going to affect Axis.
Oh yeah.
Which is what's I think the biggest because they've been setting up that there's something huge going to happen with Xavier and the all new X-Men. That's been the setup in the all new X-Men for a while now because we have Xavier's son, and they're like, "You killed my dad, Cyclops. I'm here to kill you. But if we alter the timeline and stop you from turning older, I'll have my dad. I won't turn into a jackass. That kind of a thing."
Yeah.
And so as much as people don't, I guess, aren't reading all new X-Men, that is going to have a lot to do with the Axis of it. I can tell you right now.
All right. Let me interrupt you for a second. The issue here with Battle of the Atom, this is what they were talking about. Okay. Because I've been scrolling through here and trying to make sense of what was going on. No, it was Jean Grey in the future. It was an alternate version of Jean Grey in the future that was part of the future group of the X-Men. And the problem is that she was referring to the Schism storyline that was created when Wolverine fragmented off of the X-Men and started his own school.
Yeah.
And like broke away from Cyclops. And that's what she was referring to was like the future X-Men, like all the future mutants, it's all screwed up because they split the mutant community in half basically. It's like a mutant version of the Civil War more or less.
Yeah.
And that's what she was I think that's what she was referring to. But Beast is the one that died. And it was a younger version of himself that was killed, or maybe the current version of himself that was killed, and the future version wasn't affected by it. He was still there, the one with the horns growing out of his head and all that.
Yeah.
This one right here, real quick, we have a question. Christopher, this is it right here, and we will discuss that in a bit after we get out of Axis. We're going to discuss Futures and Multiversity, so don't worry.
So as convoluted as this next event in Marvel is, should I even read Original Sin since it's kind of a lead up?
Yeah, I mean, like
I
it's
would
short
say
enough
so.
and innocuous enough. I think it's such a short, self-contained kind of story. You could read it without any issue. Still, I mean, like unless you want to skip it, you could totally skip it. Though.
Well, and this is what Rob and I were talking about earlier. I think Original Sin is going to directly lead into because they're setting up Axis to start as soon as Original Sin ends.
I think that
they're
that's
not
a
giving
decision.
it a breather like they normally do.
I don't even think they're connected. I think it's just like they were ramping up to Original Sin, and then they had this Axis idea. So they went, oh well, we're already drawing Original Sin, so put Axis out right after it. Like Axis is the big one, but Original Sin had been the big one. They were making bouncy balls, and they had like 1,000 variant covers. No, they had money was spent making Original Sin the major event, and then Axis came out, and people were like, oh, superheroes fighting bad guys and Onslaught, I'm in. And they were like, oh, that's much more popular. Let's just get that out as soon as possible.
Well, like here was the other thing too. Like if you look at it, like, well, at least from what I can tell with what's happened in Original Sin so far, like, there's a ton of loose ends. Like, the most notable of which is Nick Fury. You know, and the question
Well,
that
we're going to find out more about that soon. There's big spoilers about that already out thanks to USA Today.
Yeah, and I've stayed away from those.
Yeah,
I really want to see what happens.
But did you guys, speaking of Original Sin, everyone here has read issue 7 now, right?
Yes, I'm currently caught up on Original
Okay.
Sin.
Yeah, I'm currently caught up with everything. Tiffany's not reading it, but...
Okay, well, the reason I bring it up is because did you guys see, like, I thought it was going to be Thor and Loki and that was going to cause the downfall of Thor.
Yeah, no.
Whenever Nick Fury said, the hammer literally just fell.
Yeah, he couldn't pick it up. Like, I was looking at
I was
that,
like, what?
I was like, is he not able to lift his hammer? Like, what in the hell?
The coolest thing ever, though, was Iron Man reporting that to Captain America.
Yeah.
Apparently, Thor can't pick up his hammer.
Yeah. Well, he said Thor's trying to pick up his hammer, and Cap's like, "Did you say trying?"
Yeah, did you say trying? Well, one of my
I'm like,
favorite
"What?
parts.
That's cool."
One of my favorite parts is when they're all fighting and Spider-Man gets knocked out into space.
Yep.
And, like, everybody's unconscious and Spider-Man's just like floating in space. And he was
He's like, "Guys?
Anybody? Can anybody help me?"
Yeah. Hello?
Didn't he like web something and pull himself back in?
Yeah, I think he did that, but like he was just, but he was the only one awake, and he's like, "Guys?"
He shot webbing and grabbed the eyeballs.
Yeah,
Dude,
you guys are the watcher.
Nick Fury was like, as like a 90-year-old man, destroying every single
man.
He broke everyone down. He Batmaned it up. He completely broke everyone down to their basest levels. It was amazing.
Yeah. It was. I was looking at that. And I was like Nick Fury's he's in a suit and he's got some weapons, but this guy was single-handedly laying waste to like the Avengers.
Yep.
I was like, this is ridiculous.
Keeping us on track with the wrap-up of Original Sin, I personally think that Original Sin is going to... You might be right, Sal, but I wouldn't put them past them, even if it's a loose link into the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you know that the last page reveal for Age of Ultron before they bought Angela was not a big reveal of Angela, so I can definitely see that they end Original Sin with a big teaser for Axis. Like
maybe we learn the original sin of Onslaught, or like, the original sin of Red Skull is that he had Onslaught this whole time, or like Nick Fury knew this whole time,
or that Professor X never really got rid of Onslaught.
Yeah. See, that's something I'm hoping that we get something really cool, because I'll be honest with you guys, with the exception of a couple things, a couple reveals, like Nick Fury actually being old, that the orb was actually the one that shot the Watcher, like.
But didn't kill him.
Didn't kill him. He just blew like half his head off.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been pretty much let down.
Oh no, I have too.
By Original
What I
Sin.
have found to be the coolest part of this Original Sin event has been the tie-ins, not the event.
Yeah.
The event is cool and all. I'm reading it, but I've liked the reveal of Silk more. I've liked the reveal of Thor's sister more. I liked the Hulk and Iron Man story more. Like, the stuff that came out of Original Sin is what I liked more than Original Sin. I think Original Sin's cool and we have to have that, otherwise the story makes no sense as to why all this other crap is happening.
Yeah.
But
I think Silk sucks, but I like everything else.
yeah.
I'm just kind of like another one. Like, there's nothing fresh.
Like I'm more looking forward to finding out the end of the Thor and Loki story and what's going to happen with Silk than I am finding out in Original Sin 8.
No, I'm more
I've
interested
heard a lot
in
of
Original
people, I've
Sin
seen a lot
8.
of people saying that about Thor and Loki. A lot of people are curious.
People love that book. It's great.
Yeah.
The Iron Man and Hulk thing, that was a great reveal at the ending. Oh my god. Did you guys finish that whole 5-parter?
No.
I've only heard about it, but I did not read the end yet.
So, and this is a tangent from Axis, because this isn't going to tie into Axis at all. It wraps up. But the whole concept is because this is also where they reveal that what happened with Original Sin was everybody else learned everybody else's memories.
Yeah.
That's how it happened. So Bruce Banner saw Tony Stark's memories of Tony Stark messing with the Gamma Bomb. Yes. So he assumed that Tony Stark did this. He's the one that created the whole problem.
Yep.
But what we find out on Tony Stark's side is that Bruce Banner only saw part of it. Tony Stark had fixed the bomb because Bruce had made it so much shielding, the blast would have wiped out Nevada or something like that.
Wow.
And the final moment, Tony's like, because he doesn't want Bruce to feel bad, you find out that Tony even sent an email warning Bruce Banner about it. But Tony got Bruce Banner's memory, and Bruce Banner said, screw Stark, I don't even need his advice, and deleted the email.
There you
go.
go.
So if he had gotten Tony Stark's email, he wouldn't be the Hulk.
That's cool.
So yeah, I didn't finish that part of it. I was a little hesitant. I was, in all honesty, I was kind of wrapped up to see what was going to happen with Nick Fury. And in all honesty, I thought that was a really cool reveal. I thought it was a cool reveal to say that Nick Fury's been old this whole time and he's just been hiding on the moon. Like, that was interesting. Now my question, My question is, like, I think we asked this question before, is who's going to take over the role for Nick Fury? Because that's
That's
the
what I
offer
wanted
that
to
he
know.
made.
That's
I
cool.
think it'll be Punisher. I think they're going to
I
go
know.
to the Frank
Actually, I
Castle
agree
and just
with
have
what
him
Rob
kill
said.
people.
I
Yeah.
agree with what Rob said earlier in this whole series. He thinks it's going to be a total spin-off book.
That'd be
Yeah,
great.
you told me? Yeah. So I could totally see a spin-off book of everyone competing for it, or there being a whole Nick Fury team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or
that'd be
something.
cool.
I mean, it'd be a cool way to see the Punisher because honestly, aside from the Punisher just like arbitrarily shooting people,
Yeah, he doesn't work in the Marvel
yeah,
universe anymore.
He just doesn't. Yeah, there's really no need for him. He was cool in the '90s when it was like, let's just have a guy kill people and do stuff.
Yeah,
and it
but
was
like
cool.
he
You
would
know,
eventually be like, I gotta kill the Kingpin, and people would be like, you can't kill the Kingpin. We sell Kingpin books, and it's like, oh yeah.
We still keep it books.
So
Yeah, it
yeah,
was-
I mean, like I would love to see
So-
Punisher be the man on the wall. That'd be so cool.
That would be awesome.
Are any of you guys reading Uncanny Avengers? Because I know that is also directly correlated with
With
the
Axis. Well,
I've heard that's a
It's a lot
bad
of
book.
time travel and insanity, and I just haven't had a chance to pick it up and read it. I read all.
I heard they do something like they send them like up to like 30,000 years into the future or something.
No,
stupid
that's
like that.
Avengers.
That's Avengers
Oh,
World.
Avengers. Okay.
yeah, no, that's not Avengers World. That's Avengers, unless Avengers World is now picking up off of that.
I don't know.
Avengers, because of Original Sin, they're being thrown into the future just randomly, arbitrarily.
It's the time gem from the Infinity.
Right. So I actually got so far as to the future of 30,000 years in the future. Captain America met with Franklin Richards, and we do discover that Franklin Richards he's just infinite. He's almighty.
He's
okay.
Yeah.
See,
And
ladies
we also
and
meet a
gentlemen,
tree version of Groot.
See, this
Yeah.
is what happens when you have a YouTube channel where you explain Marvel Comics, and you're not explaining current stuff. Like all you have time to read is like God Loves Man Kills, you know, and like old comics from like 1980s, and you
That's
can't
why you have
stay
me and Sal.
current on the stuff.
Yeah, we need another channel that's just about that's just like what the Marvel is
Yeah.
happening.
It's a collaboration channel.
Yeah.
I need to do that. Like I told Benny what I wanted to do is do like after I do Infinity Gauntlet, I want to do Age of Ultron and then just like start moving forward and periodically like touch back on old stuff. But I wanted to get into like current events. The problem is it's stupid convoluted dealing with like current stuff.
Oh yeah.
God in heaven, man.
It's all
This is the reason
interconnected
why I
and-
focus more on the future stuff than the past stuff. The past stuff is cool. I like
Yeah.
the past stuff. I've read a lot of the past stuff. But the fact of the matter is, 90% of the stuff you've covered and the stuff that I've read is out the window now,
Yeah.
as far as comics
Oh
go.
yeah.
Yeah, the
Like everyone
continuity doesn't
keeps
matter
asking me to do Blackest Night, and Blackest Night would be great to do, but Blackest Night doesn't matter at
No.
all.
No.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
mean, that's-
long gone.
That's pretty much how Marvel launched it. Like Marvel said, okay, House of M, Civil War, Secret Invasion, and then just rebooted everything.
Yep. And then it's
And it was
no.
like, okay,
they just reset the typewriter. It was
Yeah.
just, yeah.
pretty much.
Gabriel thinks that Bucky was going to become the man on the wall.
Probably.
Someone's saying that Kenji thinks that Captain will be, since Falcon is now the new Captain.
Oh yeah, that'd
That
be
is
cool.
a good point.
Yeah,
I
he is old.
don't think so though, because some of the stuff that Nick Fury did was pretty damn shady.
Yeah,
And
I
have
don't
a
see
hard
him
time
rolling
believing
with this,
Captain America would do that.
unless
Yeah,
this is how they're going to develop his character further.
But it's Captain America, man. Like at the end of the day, Captain America is a guy that just won't kill people. That's
Yeah,
why
Steve
Bucky
Rogers
Barnes
is a
was his
good
partner,
man,
so.
no matter how you.
There's also what was this? Christopher is not a fan of Silk. Some people aren't. They don't like how off the wall Silk gets. She's kind of crazy and all over the place.
Yeah.
It's just
and,
like-
and so far, I want to see where they go with it. But
Yeah, I just like all right. I trust them. I guess I'm sure they'll just put her away.
Hold on, real quick. Gabriel thinks that Rob reads current books because he said, "I thought you did the Franklin Richards video specifically because of that issue of the Avengers where we
Yeah.
see him 30,000 years in the future."
I mean, yeah, but here's the like that was simply just a byproduct of the fact that if we're going to explain Franklin Richards, we have to have some context when we say Franklin Richards made Galactus his herald. Because if I just said Franklin Richards makes Galactus his herald and then move on to the next thing, you guys are like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What? Wait,
That's
run
pretty
that
cool.
by me
Talk
again.
about that.
Yeah, talk about that some more. Like, tell me why Celestials from an alternate reality are invading like the current reality. Like, help me understand what the hell is going on here.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so crazy and convoluted, because half the story of Franklin Richards in the future takes place in the Fantastic Four, the other half takes place in Future Foundation, and it just goes, you know.
Yep.
But I will say this though, like Hickman is amazing when it comes to doing Fantastic Four stories. Like I've never read a Hickman part, like any part of Hickman's run. And
If I had more money in my weekly budget, I'd be getting that one. I had to turn it down again today. I was there and I'm like looking at the Fantastic Four book, and I was like, I
dude,
can't
it's-
afford it. I got a stack of books.
Wasn't it
It's so
canceled
good.
now? Isn't it like over?
And
It's
I
yeah,
cannot
it's
wait
done.
to get that omnibus.
Yeah.
It's so good though,
in
man.
the
It's
mail.
so
Kenji's
good.
asking if anybody read New Avengers 23. I have it right here, but I think I'm the only one reading the Incursion storyline.
I saw what I see everybody's ramping up because they can't stop it. Like, it looks like the last incursion's coming.
Right. Well, the story has to end eventually.
Thank God.
They have fought the Justice League now. You can't go anywhere from here. What are you going to fight?
Did you read Multiversity?
No, it's sitting right here. I haven't read it yet.
Because the Avengers are in it.
Ah!
Really?
Grant Morrison, Hickman, like he sticks a middle finger at Hickman for putting the Justice League in New Avengers in there.
Because they destroyed the Justice League.
I know. And I mean, like, you got T'Challa, you got Namor, like, that alone, you're effed.
So, okay, I'm going through the comments again before we move over, though. So, do we have anything else to go over about Axis? I mean, we see Red Skull Onslaught. We have theories about it coming out of Original Sin.
Hopeful. Yeah.
I'm honestly, I'm hoping that the core storyline for this is as big as the Infinity storyline.
Yeah.
That's what I'm kind of hoping for. Original Sin, I feel like, I don't know, it was more of a giant what if storyline. Like they took the concepts of what if that did well, and they're like, what if we put him in the real world? What if Spider-Man had another spider? What if Iron Man, was the reason for Bruce Banner? What if Thor had a sister? Let's put that in the main universe. That's what it feels like to me.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, depending on what they decide to do with Axis, like I feel like this could be like a lead up to Axis. Like this whole thing, this whole Original Sin series could just be called like, Axis lead up or something like that. Because again, like there's so many loose ends. Assuming that they close out Nick Fury, like we have issue number 7 closes out with all these watchers watching what's going on.
Yeah.
With Nick Fury on the moon,
Well,
and so it's
they're not going to be happy with that. I can guarantee you they're not.
I agree, but the question is like, what are they going to do? And I have a feeling like they're not going to be able to close every single thing that's happened so far in Original Sin out in one issue. That's just not going to happen. So.
Or they'll do it like Infinity and leave it loose in a bunch of books.
We were talking about this earlier. If they do, that would be classic Marvel.
Yeah,
it would be, man. But it would. I mean, basically, like you'd be reading the comic, you would be like, well, this happened, and then this happens, and then these things happen, and then we're done. Thanks for reading, guys.
That's how I mean, like that's what happens when I'm explaining these books, like especially the most recent ones, to the guys, and I'm like, "This is what happened," and they're like, "Well, what next?" I'm like, "Nothing."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, then this next book," and they're like, "Oh." Like it's very anticlimactic.
Yeah,
a lot of comic book storylines are that way though. They'll be anticlimactic. They'll just be like, and we're done.
Yeah, that's enough.
Hit the off button.
Yep.
They build up to these massive things and close out. So maybe Original Sin will be the flip on that. Maybe it'll change it around. Axis, I'm having a big. I think the problem with Original Sin is we didn't have a core bad guy.
No.
We had nothing being ramped up. We had nobody prepping for things. We just had everybody being like, oh my God!
And the bad guys who were in it were ineffectual and, like, third tier.
Yeah.
Like, the superior foes of Spider-Man are more well-known and more topical than the characters that showed up in Original Sin.
And that's one of the things. Like, see, one of the things I'm most excited about with Axis, like I said, is that Apocalypse is coming back. And to me, this is a huge thing because we had Apocalypse killed, whatever it was. He came back as a kid, and the whole like Marvel kind of did this whole thing, the same thing they did with Hope Summers. Like, well, Apocalypse could come back to be a really good guy and do some good stuff, or he could be like a really bad guy and be like what he was before but worse. And it's like, okay, I mean, and I'm hoping they pick the side because the way it's being talked about, like he's going to be a villain.
Yeah.
And so
here's my question for you.
Back as a bad guy.
Totally.
Is it Apocalypse or is it Kid Apocalypse?
No, it's supposed to be like Apocalypse, like the grown adult Apocalypse. Like
okay, because Kid Apocalypse just teamed up with Deadpool again and helped him, like full blown good guy, not even shady at all.
Yeah, but also keep in mind though. I mean, it may very well be that it turns out to be Kid Apocalypse, but keep in mind, like Kid Apocalypse has demonstrated on several occasions the mindset that the old Apocalypse had of survival of the fittest. He's demonstrated his powers on multiple occasions. So you're talking
the only
about...
reason he would team up with Deadpool because Deadpool is the only one who wouldn't kill him.
Yeah.
Right. I forget his name, but he's friends with Deadpool. Deadpool had to save his daughter. He threw his daughter out the window, but like he sent a message to Kid Apocalypse, "Help me, come rescue my daughter."
Yeah.
And he showed up, and he's like, "Hey, I got her. Here you go."
Yeah.
What's going on, buddy? How you been? You been good? You good? You good? How's the kid? Oh, I just saved her. Right here she is.
But that's what I'm curious about. Is I'm really wanting to see like a return of the evil Apocalypse. But the question is, like they said, he's supposed to appear in issue number 4. So the question is, how big of a role is he going to play? Because whenever you saw Apocalypse in the comics, it was always like some stuff happens over here, but then Apocalypse is like masterminding everything.
It would be cool if we got to see, this is just me being a nerd. I would like to see the Onslaught Red Skull fight Apocalypse.
Yes, that's exactly what
and
I
I
was
think that's
thinking.
what it's going to lead toward. I think that's why he's going to appear in issue 4. He's going to show up and Onslaught Red Skull is going to be like, "Meh, punch," and it'd be cool. It'll just be cool and BA.
Well, again, like, it depends on what kind of power Onslaught has. Because if you remember during the Onslaught series, like with Magneto Xavier Onslaught, like Apocalypse couldn't stop him.
He was
I love
really
Sal's
cool, except then he turned into Thought, and that was lame.
Yeah, he did. He turned into pure energy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, that was the
Sorry.
whole thing. Like the Watcher showed up, and the Watcher was like you need to get in there and do something, because if you don't, like, he's gonna kill everybody else and then kill you.
Yep,
So-
just jump in and be a vessel for him.
Hope
and then
you're ready for it.
That was weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird ending.
I don't know. I'm just kind of curious to see how it's all going to go down. But either way, like I'm pretty excited for Axis. Like I'm pretty interested to see where it leads
Well,
up to.
let me ask you this then, because have you been reading the Incursion storyline, Rob?
No.
Okay.
Yours.
Sal has. Do you think the Incursions are going to be because we have a couple big storylines happening in the universe right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the one where Captain America went to the future, came back, and now we're going to see what happens with that. We have the Incursions happening over at New Avengers. Original Sin, the whole Nick Fury thing's happening. Do you think that the Incursions will have anything to do with Axis events?
No.
You think that's going to remain all by itself?
I think the Incursions will be on the undercurrent. I think they'll be able to blame stuff that happens on the Incursions, but I think the Incursions are Hickman's own plan. I think Axis is another thing. I think that they're just... Axis is a cool story they're going to do that's going to kind of clean up, or that'll save some time until the Incursion story gets wound up. I think we're going to get another Infinity type story out of the Incursions.
That makes sense, though, if the Incursions is part of Hickman's run, because, again, touching back on the Fantastic Four, Future Foundation was a standalone series.
Yep.
Like, that was just, it didn't involve anybody else. It was just, it was just the Fantastic Four. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, where this whole thing with Incursions is just like a standalone series like Marvel Knights or something, where it just only involves those particular superheroes but doesn't tie into anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the problem with the Incursion storyline of New Avengers is I think it's going to be needed for the Axis thing, at least to the extent of, here's the members of the Illuminati, the smartest guys and the biggest characters in the Marvel Universe. They have to at least show up for 5 seconds and be like, sorry, we're busy with other things. I'll talk to you later.
I think they're going to reveal the Illuminati at the end of this, and I think that's what's going to lead. I think that in that regard, that's what's going to lead into the heroes being villains and the villains being heroes kind of thing. You're going to be that's why you saw Doctor Strange go Wong, am I a good man? And Wong's like, no, you are not.
No, not after what you did.
You're a monster. You
just
T'Challa,
absorbed the
Reed,
souls of the
you're
Justice
all
League.
monsters. And I think that's going to be a big kick in the ass for the superhero community. I think they're going to be disillusioned. I think they're going to be disenfranchised with the whole.
Another one of those things of we put all our faith in these guys. The only one we can trust is going to be Captain America.
Right, or the only one we can trust is the Red Skull or something.
Right. I
Would
could
it
see
make
that.
Lex
sense?
Luthor. I mean, whoever.
Well,
Would it
here, how
make
about this?
sense
Throwing this at the
that-
wall. Well, real quick, Dave. Hold on. So, Incursions make all of our big guys bad guys. Red Skull comes out and says, "I'm actually Professor Xavier. I took over his body. I'm in control."
Yeah.
I mean, we've all seen that when Xavier goes when Xavier goes awry, he gets really, really bad.
Yeah. He is
But if he comes
Proportionately
forward, it
evil
proves that
to his
he's
good.
actually Xavier.
Yeah.
I think everyone would get behind him until he proves he's also evil.
Yeah.
Would it make sense that maybe one of the other worlds that happens to be incurring or colliding into our world has some sort of countermeasure, and that world has the villains as the good guys, and they come over and fight?
No, we've already done
But
that. The incursions have already happened that way.
Yeah.
We've already seen the flip side. We've already seen, I think there was the Marvel Zombies universe incursion at one point.
Oh, that's cool.
We've already had the Justice League. They've already seen multiple worlds that have died. The Marvel Zombies one, they found a desolate world that already destroyed itself, and I think it was implied that it was the Marvel Zombies universe.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh yeah.
But they've played on that several times. There was a point in the Marvel Zombies storyline when Doctor Doom made Reed Richards switch minds with him in order for Doctor Doom to effectively allow the zombies to be defeated on that Earth.
Right.
And then like at the end, like he's just switches minds back because he's just like, I can't do this to you.
Be too easy.
I know the
Yeah.
Illuminati in the past have done some pretty shady things, like when they shot, the Hulk into the,
Into space.
that gladiator planet that,
Yeah.
Well,
You know,
was
he
supposed to go to a
basically-
peaceful world, but he ended up off course.
Yeah, he smashed the guidance system, so he wound up in a world.
yeah, so, like, I know they've done some pretty shady things in the past, but this seems like extreme.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that's why I can't watch. That's why I can't read it because like they're all monsters. Like they're all like
Yeah.
Captain America was the
I
only.
like that though. I like
don't
that.
like. It's cool, but it's also frustrating. That's why it was such a
But-
great moment.
Well, no, because
thanks
what I
to-
like about it is it shows how far they're really willing to go.
Right.
Where
But,
are
like-
they willing to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, like, I feel like they
Well,
would.
that's always been a question in comic books, though.
yeah.
Again, if someone's destroying the world, will Superman finally kill somebody? If the Hydra takes over, it's just killing people, everyone. Will Captain America actually shoot someone? And if we're
Yeah.
going to lose our entire universe, will some of the pinnacles of the good guy side of the superheroes turn villain? Answer is
Yeah.
yes.
But the writers could have literally done anything else with it. Like,
Yeah.
those questions wouldn't come up if they just said, no, they're gonna find some way with
But
Reed
that's what we
Richards or
always
something to
expect.
close.
No, but that's
Yeah.
what we always
No.
expect, and that's what they've tried. That's what this whole book is about. Them trying to find that. And when they killed the Justice League, that was it. Like they were like, we've tried everything.
Yeah.
There is no answer. We've used
Yeah.
the Infinity Gems. We've tried technology. Our only answer now is to put a bomb on your planet.
Yep. But there's no coming back from that. You can't. I don't want
Right.
to read adventures about these evil people who did if they can't find a solution, then how are they superheroes?
Right,
Like,
they're not.
If Superman,
They're just
if-
they're just
Well,
villains.
But that's the thing. That's the thing with Marvel. Marvel's always on the human level. And as normal humans, if our worlds are colliding,
Yes.
the four of us would probably go right to the bomb and not try the other things.
no, that's true. And like
That's
but
true.
that's like this is the thing. Like that's why Man of Steel sucks because like if Superman were if he murders somebody, that's like the easy way out. Like we want to we want to read superheroes because they're better than us because they can arrive at a solution that is not what we would do.
Well,
or
that's
they would
what DC is.
yeah.
DC will always have the answer. DC will never.
They don't have
destroy
the
world.
answer. They friggin'
Well, no, but what I'm saying is DC, like Marvel's always been grounded. Marvel's like, we can't find the answer. We need to come up with the extreme. DC would have come up with some crazy thing like resetting the entire universe. That would
that's
have been
where Marvel-
your superhero response.
Right, but you're seeing where Marvel's going. Marvel will eventually have to reset in order for us to care about Reed Richards as a person. Like,
Or we just pull him from the past when he was
Yeah.
good.
that's what I mean. Like,
Just pull the good Reed Richards back. It's fine. Kill that evil
Yeah,
one.
like, but see, here's the thing about Reed Richards. Like, I've never really cared about Reed Richards.
right?
Like I did before, but the problem with Reed Richards is that no matter what the conflict that's going on, Reed Richards is just like, I need to fix this for science,
Well,
and like
Right,
just hides
yeah.
behind science
Richards
the
is-
entire time. That's
Yeah.
all
He
it
will
does.
be a
The
dick
kicker
to
with
everybody
Richards-
else as long as he can have his work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
But the problem with Reed Richards is we've proven time and time again in multiple other storylines that he will turn evil. That he will cross that line. Marvel Zombie storyline, even though it's a what if, one of the first scientists to turn evil is Reed Richards.
Yeah.
You know,
Facts.
there's multiple other what if timelines where he's the first guy that's like, it's for the greater good, whatever. I'll
Yeah.
just do
Well,
Well,
whatever.
hell,
Yeah.
man! Like during Hickman's run of the Fantastic Four, when he had the Council of Reeds, every single version of Reed Richards that was part of the Council of Reeds had taken Doctor Doom and like lobotomized him.
Yeah.
And they had a giant room down in the basement of like the Council of Reeds where all you had were like all these Dooms that would just like repeat their names. That's all they knew how to say.
Yeah.
Like, it was really screwed up. Yeah, it was really messed
man.
up. It was
But
the quest
that's
to fix
always been
everything.
Reed's character. And
Yeah.
Doctor Strange has always been on the verge. He's always been on the borderline. T'Challa has always been talking to evil spirits who tell him to go do whatever's necessary for the thing.
Yeah,
No, he
and
has
Namor's a
been.
bad guy.
And Namor has always been the bad guy. Always.
Yep.
Namor's been the anti-hero. But he's
Yeah.
usually always fought on the side of good. The only exception you could make to this would be like maybe Avengers versus X-Men where he's one of the
Look
Phoenix Five. And
I was going to say, look what he
then-
did in that.
But even
Oh,
then, that's
latest
like
attacks.
that's questionable. Like, I mean,
How is that questionable?
because look at what they did. Like, look at what they did. All right, like they totally revamped Utopia, Like it was literally a utopia. Like they made the world better overall, and then people were still fighting against him. Now the whole reason it was stupid. They were like, we just want Hope Summers. I mean, it was dumb. Like the whole motivation behind it was dumb. But in the end, like they were still attacking the Phoenix Five. But the fear was that, like I think Scarlet Witch had pointed out that in the end, like it was going to lead to the destruction of everything, which is why she was like something needs to be done. But until that played out, like you couldn't really say they were bad guys. They were just I guess
they were trying. No, but the problem with Namor has always been Namor, and like he's just proven in the New Avengers book, will always be the first guy to cross that line.
Exactly. He's always like, well, I'm a king.
He is always the first. Reed Richards will always follow suit pretty quickly afterwards. Doctor Strange is always like, dynamic magic. I like you. Oh, I like how you taste. Oh, but I'm so addicted. No, you're so dirty.
That's what I hate about Doctor Strange. Like he's such a powerful character, and it's like Marvel's like we don't know what to do with this guy. Like I mean, he's here and we could do some stuff, but like what do we do? And so basically, like Doctor Strange just kind of hangs out and says like I'm just going to be an Enigma this entire time, and then show up at the very end and just be like, you know what you should do. And
he was woefully underused in
really
Avengers,
but
like.
He's such a powerful character, though. Like, what could you really do with him? I mean, even after he was retconned and his power was toned down, he was still really powerful.
Yeah.
So.
Well, okay, in all honesty, isn't that technically our problem with the Hulk?
Yeah.
Like, the reason the Hulk doesn't ever do well in his own book is he's so powerful. To put him up against stuff, you need to give him superpowered, cybernetically enhanced Russian bears in space where he has no gravity. Like, that's the answer to making the Hulk give him a viable enemy. It's like, no.
Yeah. I mean, like when you were talking about the different variations, different colors of the Hulk, and like Bruce Banner and the Bruce Banner Hulk relationship, like, I mean, you were right. Like during Onslaught, when Jean Grey like ripped their minds in half and separated the two of them, like the Hulk was just pure unstoppable force. He was the only person who could punch a hole in Onslaught's armor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but that's one of the things I like about the Hulk is, like, he's a great character and he's really really powerful, but he just wants to be left alone like 99% of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So
did you like the picture I put in the Hulk video?
That was
He's
cool.
holding the bunnies. You know? Bunny's scared.
I saw that. I was like, that's cool. But I mean, even then, like the Hulk is cool. Like when I was talking about the Sentry, I don't know if it was something that I touched over or not, but like during the Marvel Knights run, when the Void shows up, like the Hulk is scared, and the Sentry tells Hulk like, I know you're scared, you know, but like we have to fight the Sentry, and the Hulk is like, I mean, if we have to, like I don't really want to, you know, but if we have to fight the Void, then I guess we will. But you know, it was cool to see that element of the character. But I usually like Hulk because sure he's overpowered, sure he's pretty strong, but he's got attributes of his character that help to offset that. So.
Well, right now he's smart again, and I think they're setting that up for the Axis event.
Yeah, I don't.
The way Iron Man versus X-Men works, Iron Man gives him the Extremis, which allows Hulk to be intelligent.
See, I don't like Smart Hulk. Like I think the whole Extremis thing was a terrible idea anyway. But the whole
at least they're trying to do something with it. They're not just like, oh, brush that under the rug. Extremis.
Yeah, I'm pretty used to like. Smart Hulk has always been kind of like a character that I'm used to because I'm always like used to Peter David's like Bruce Banner's brain and Hulk's body, like the Savage Dragon Hulk that Eric Larson used to draw. Like that's the one I'm used to. Like it was.
See, I don't mind, and I liked it when Hulk was smart and Banner was an insane evil guy trying to kill him. That was like I know most Hulk fans hate that series, but that was like the most unique idea I've ever seen with the Hulk.
That's true.
What was this? I can't remember the name of the storyline. It was the one with Tony Stark, where like the whole Extremis thing, and like his suit became a part of his physical body.
Yeah.
I
think it was called Extremis.
Was it called Extremis?
Yeah.
Okay, I can remember what it was. I thought it was called something else.
Yeah.
I thought it was called Iron Man 3. I couldn't.
No.
All right. Well, we've now been going for about 45 minutes on the Marvel topics, and we've been making poor Tiffany suffer and listen to us this whole time.
I enjoy it. I'm enjoying it.
She's been part of this podcast for 9 years.
You don't seem like we're boring you, but
no, I'm just taking it all in because you know what? Usually, how I end up reading story arcs is I listen to him talking about them, and the more excited he gets about it, the more I have to read it. Like the reason I read The Court of Owls is because he was like, "This is amazing," and he wouldn't stop talking. I'm like, "All right, I gotta do it." So awesome.
That story in a while. That was
Yeah.
Court of Owls. Something Rob needs to read.
I agree.
It starts with Court of Owls into the Night of Owls. It's an awesome arc.
Yeah,
that
would be a really good spot for you to start, Rob.
Well, it's New 52 number 1. Like it's New 52 Batman 1.
Yeah, it starts Batman and it goes all the way up to like Batman 15, I think. So you can get it in 2 books, and that's it if you want to. But the reason, before we go over to DC and discuss what we foresee happening in the future, Future's End, and how we feel about a 5-year jump in our comic series, I figured that Marvel would be a great time to talk about the current Spider-Woman image.
Oh my god!
And the reason why,
Yeah.
so that way we're not just sitting here for 3 hours with her just sitting there staring at us. So for those of you not tracking the issue, and Rob, you're gonna have to either put it into the thing or give them a link. They just released we've just got the announcement that there is a new Spider-Woman comic coming out. It's going to be Jessica Drew and Silk. Probably something like Jessica Drew teaching Silk how to be a superhero and blah, blah, blah. Silk is the new Spider-Girl that's in the Spider-Man book. We discovered her from Original Sin. Now, what's going on is the normal cover looks great. Great artwork and everything. The variant cover has been proven to be literally a naked girl that they just colored in a costume on.
Yeah.
It like literally goes... It goes up so far up her butt crack. It's not like that's not even physically possible.
No, it's not even up anything. It's just paint. It's like they just body painted her.
Now, obviously, this is causing a huge uproar because we already have an issue with an over-sexualization of female characters in comic books. If you don't believe me, look what happened when they tried to get rid of the boob window for Power Girl. That lasted like 50 issues. And then conveniently, she found the old costume with the boob window. I mean,
I'm surprised people got so upset that like we didn't like. People were like, "Whoa, we took away the boob window."
That was the biggest. I was like that too. I'm like, the boob window was cool and all, but I'm also not 12. So
yeah, they're animated characters, guys. They're illustrated. They're not. They're not real.
I didn't like the new concept not because of the boob window lacking, but because the giant P over the other boob was just lame. It was look, I'm Power Girl.
Well, that's the thing. Like with the Power Girl redesign, like give me a better costume then.
Right. I'm fine if you get rid of one of her trademarks. That's fine. I mean,
All right, if you guys want to see the video or see that image or the website that I posted, you guys will have to like refresh and look in the description because I can't post it in the comments.
Yeah, you can't post in the chat.
That's stupid.
If you just Google Spider-Woman #1 and
Spider-Woman #1 variant.
Milo Manara.
Yeah.
Manara.
So basically, the big rundown is, and this is where we wanted Tiffany's opinion, because this is not the first time an overly sexualized video game and comic book. Don't go with that anyway. It doesn't matter. But it's not the first time that this has happened, and not the first time it's made headlines. Which is, on my reaction, why is this making headlines? This happens like every other month. I guarantee you, going through my books this week, I can find a cover with an over-sexualized girl. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. I will find something I just bought that does that. That is doing a very improper. Deadpool's a very good one. Yeah, we can go with that.
I mean, I think that one of the reasons why this is being so hyped up, though, is because it's one thing to where you have like over-sexualized characters that are dressed a certain way. Is another like when you have an over-sexualized character that plays to that over-sexuality, and that's what the variant comic seems to do. Like you've got like Miss Marvel who's dressed in a really skimpy outfit. You've got other characters here and there who do the same thing, but then you've got this image of Spider-Girl.
That's kind of over-sexualized, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, if you're talking about like over-sexualized female features, yeah,
it's a little gratuitous.
It's not even. No, look, here's.
Let's let her speak.
Yes. Explain to us. Explain to us from a woman's perspective.
All right. I understand, first of all, that most of these characters were designed at a time where women were 100% sexualized. Like, they weren't necessarily even on the same level as men. So when you look back at them and when you look at their development over time, you have to take that into account. You have to. And you also have to take into account that sex sells. You put a woman like that on your cover, it's probably going to sell. The difference between this image, I think, and most of the images that you see in a comic book store is this isn't sexuality at all. This is gratuitous to some degree. And this is coming from someone, I read Saga, but the gratuitous sex in that is for the purpose of the story. She is in a submissive pose. She is essentially naked, and she is supposed to be the woman that we're buying this comic book for. She's supposed to be an empowering, strong woman. Nope. Like, couldn't be further from the mark. And I think that's really where people should have the issue with this, is don't put her in a pose like this. I understand she's a spider character, and they do that. But you can't put that on your cover and expect me to believe that this person is powerful or empowering or strong.
Yeah.
It
doesn't come across like that.
And see, it's interesting that you talk about that, because if you look at Marvel Now with Miss Marvel issue #1, like she's an over sexualized character, but she's got like this strong dominant pose on the,
Yeah.
the
Captain
cover of the.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with an overly sexualized character. It happens both ways. Like but the first one to admit it. I don't expect to see a guy who has a Clark Kentian or Superman, physique walking down the street, but it's nice to look at in a comic book. However, that's not all that he is.
Right.
Just most of the oftentimes the issue with an over-sexualized woman is the fact that they're like, that's all that she is. If you put a strong personality or an interesting personality behind that, I don't care.
Yeah, I think that's why like Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti's original Power Girl book was like popular and successful. Like you get a little bit of cheesecake with Amanda Conner's very like specific art style, but it also told a fun story, and it really I think served the Power Girl character. So it was less. You took a gratuitous or a potentially gratuitous character and design, and then turned it into something fun, as opposed to.
Well, the Power Girl, a person I hate what they've done with her in the New 52. Because the original run was great, it really was. And like you said, there was those scenes in there. I remember in particular, like one issue was almost entirely a shower scene with her in a towel. That's because I'm a guy. It stays pretty prominent in your brain when you see a whole issue with the girl in the towel. But she was also in charge of her company. She was also a very strong woman. She, and part of the problem I have with the new book that she's in is the fact that she's now been backgrounded to what Huntress is doing. And she's like, oh, look, she's really strong. And oh, look, she's making all these inventions. And she just wants to go home. What's Huntress doing?
Yeah.
But I think the problem with the Spider-Woman, I don't know if you've been reading the current stuff, Tiffany, or not. But personally, she doesn't make a lot of appearance already. But every time she does, she's always been that strong character. One particular scene in particular, I remember when she had to team up with the Hulk. One of her powers is pheromones, and she made the Hulk her bitch. That's what she did. That was the whole point. Hulk, make me a sandwich. Hulk, I'm cold. And it was like, this is a cool character.
Yeah.
Look what she can do to the Hulk. And Hulk's like, spider lady like,
Yeah, the last I really read of her was way back when she was on New Avengers. And, I liked the character. But I'm telling you right now, if I walked into a comic book store and I saw that, I wouldn't even bother to pick it up because I'd be like, I don't know what this is, but it does not appeal to me.
Yeah.
And again, I think personally that the female form and the male form are beautiful and they're amazing. And like being from an arts background, there have been plenty of opportunities for me to draw naked people. And over time, obviously in every various art historical movement, you will always see the idealized version of male and female, whatever that be at the time. So you're going to see that, and we're going to see that now. And that's what people want to see, and they want to look at it. But something like this, it's literally, it's the pose and it's the feeling of it. And I understand that this artist is an older man. I believe
he's 69.
Yeah, he's 69, 68, somewhere in there. And
that excuse works. I mean, the same thing for why people allow Adam Hughes. Beautiful artwork. But every piece of Adam Hughes art, you're like, he just itemized a woman on his cover. Look at Catwoman. Oh, she's so.
Right. And like, I'm not saying that it's an excuse for him to do that in his private art collection. Like that's what he has and that's what he wants to do. I don't think it's an excuse for Marvel, and I really think that Marvel editorial should have taken a look at this and just taken a step back and thought to themselves, how does this portray us and what we think about our kind of flagship female character who's supposed to be coming out and giving us another edge when you're facing an Amazonian, like Wonder Woman. I mean, the idea of the Amazons themselves is so empowering for women, and sometimes they nail it with her and sometimes they don't.
Yeah, and like currently with Azzarella's Wonder Woman book, they went from she had long pants to she's wearing her bikini bottom again.
Don't start.
But even then, I don't
Which
think
did you prefer on that one, Tim? Honest question.
Really, I feel like it's understated. Like I've read a couple issues of Wonder Woman, like the most recent run, and that's like really not important.
No, it isn't.
Like
I think for me,
you don't even notice.
The issue I have with that, the going from the pants to the bikini bottom, has nothing to do with how she looks. It's necessarily the reason they made the switch over. It was just because people weren't responding to the character as much, and that makes me sad to some degree. Like that they're not necessarily there just like even to get past the pants. Yeah. If you just want to have her in the bikini bottoms, just put her in it. I don't care. She looks great in them. Yeah. I think she looks like what most women wish she could look like in them. So go for it. but don't backpedal. Just don't backpedal.
So basically, you're saying that because the public didn't agree with the long pants, they just backpedaled on it, and that's what upsets you. Not so much the shift back.
Yeah, exactly. Look, like again,
Stick
I
your
understand. Sex sells. That's why we have half naked men and women selling overly priced clothing to us. Because when we look at that, we're like, man, I want to look like that. I want to have that because look at how it looks on them. So
I want to look like them.
So when you go into the comic book store and you see, like Zatanna, in her like deep V'd, corset top on the cover, it's like I'm immediately drawn to that. Even as a woman, I'm like, I'm kind of drawn to that and I want to take a look at it. When I see this Spider-Girl cover, I don't want anything to do with that. Not only do I not want to look like that, but I don't ever want to be put in a position like that.
Well, here's a question that I would ask, though. Like, to play devil's advocate here for a second. So you talk about how sex sells.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, if sex sells and the purpose of Marvel is to sell a product, could you really argue that they're wrong to take this step?
Well, I think in terms of if you're looking at any publicity is good publicity, then no, this was not a mistake. But I don't think that this is necessarily the same sexuality that they tend to go after. Someone in the comments mentioned that this is borderline pornographic, and it is to some degree. It's not very good pornography to begin with, but I mean, I agree with that.
I
just don't get the same feel.
Yeah, like you look at like Greg Land and how he traces women in pornographic positions to make them into like where they're. I don't know if you guys have seen like the Greg Land tracing issues that have been going around, but like Greg Land can't draw and he traces, and Greg Land also will like when he has his when he has his women like.
Did you just now realize you were off camera this whole time?
No, I wanted to give her some space. But,
okay.
If you look at Greg Land drawing women yelling, he just traces women having orgasms from porn.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And
this is a fun. I'm learning a lot about the way people draw stuff.
Yeah, this is actually really interesting.
Yeah, Google Greg Land and can't draw or sucks or like porn, and you will get Greg Land and all the shit he's ripped off himself. He's ripped off porno pictures. Like it's just insane.
All right,
but
Greg Land can't draw. That is actually a top Google search for that.
The other funny thing about that, by the way, is that this is a variant cover. The prime cover is by Greg Land.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh my.
And it's not very good, but it's not very pornographic either.
Oh yeah, if you look up Can't Draw, you'll see he takes like Sports Illustrated and all that other stuff.
Yep.
Greg Land. I typed in Greg Land, and then the next word that Google auto-completed was tracing. And there's literally just all side-by-side pictures.
But even with
of
Land's terrible art, like he tries to he draws them with clothes on. He draws them doing something action-oriented. This is a naked woman painted pink. Like not even red, pink. And she has her and she's in a like an animalistically submissive pose.
Right.
So I
think that's part of the problem. I think
that's the issue.
Well, because Spider-Woman has had one of the big things with her is she's always been super skin tight. I've seen a lot of artwork from her in previous issues where it's like you can see the belly button indentation.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And like you're almost like she's got to be wearing underwear, otherwise maybe seeing a camel toe. You know, like that's how tight it is.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's the pose. She's looking up at you. She's bent over down like that. It's not
you would not scale a building like that, even if you did have Spider-Man.
No, she's clearly at the top of the building, and if you just take the skyline out and put a guy behind her, we're going a whole different direction at this point.
I didn't even think of it that way. You just put very dirty images of Spider-Woman in my head.
Well, all right. So here's the thing. So let me be a little more dangerous here. All right.
Okay.
Let me walk a little bit more dangerous territory. If that was a guy, would you say the same thing?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
I feel like ew.
If I saw a guy in that pose with the butt cheeks spread like that and everything,
not necessarily like in that same position, because I'd be like, okay, like this is a little weird. With
if it was that position, like no, I'd be like, what I'd pick it up simply to be like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, I'd be like, what the hell's going on in this comic? But if it was a guy,
Why is a dude like that?
If it was a guy like on the front cover of a comic and it was accentuating like his male features, like if it was accentuating like his penis, would you? I mean, I'm saying like, would you say the same thing? Would you say like, oh my god, this is ridiculous? It's an over sexualized thing.
I would say that it was overly sexualized because I think that's completely unnecessary to sell a comic. Just like this is completely unnecessary to sell a comic. I mean, every time they put a guy on a cover who is wearing something skin tight and they're showing like muscles upon muscles that you didn't even know existed, that is sexual to them in the same manner as putting a female in a skin tight, low cut, outfit. It's very similar. So, if you did put like it was just like junk, I mean, like, yeah, that would really turn me off. I'd be like, there's no reason for this. This is so going beyond.
Yeah, I think that like you try to imagine like a male superhero in a sexually subservient, or even I would actually take more of an issue with a male superhero accentuated and being in a dominant pose, like in a domineering like position over something else, like over a woman or over a character, or over like something. Like I would be put off. It's also just for me, it's bad art. Like it's not art for
it's badly drawn and it's tasteless. This would be like you were saying, Rob, if you were to show off a man's junk. Like this would be like taking Rocket Raccoon and having him pelvic thrusting but cutting and pasting the Hulk's dick on him. Like that's how I feel.
I was just looking for it, and that's why, because I was looking for an example of what Rob said. But there's an image floating around, and I can't find it right now. But it's a gender-bended version of if Power Girl was a guy, how that costume would work. And what it is they call it the cock window, and it's a window right above like the base of the penis.
Oh, so you get a little neck.
Yeah, you get a little neck, but it's still covered, so we're okay. And I was gonna show that to be like just a prime example of reversing this on a guy.
Right.
Like I don't think I would buy a guy with a penis window.
But I also don't think I would buy a guy with a penis window because that is similar, but it isn't at the same time. I mean, it's not like her boob window is like a vagina window. You know what I mean?
It's
like,
not quite the same thing. Like.
We're not gonna have like a
junk
peck
are not
window.
the same.
Guys just go shirtless at that point. So
Yeah.
I just feel like it's also drawn in a way so it's specifically showing off her, like it's specifically drawn so that you could see her entire ass.
Yeah.
Like it's not drawn in a way where she's like curved over and she's kind of like crawling.
Well,
it's like she's sticking it so far up in the air just so you could see it.
Well, you know how like they like in
back
back in the
that was
90s,
showing it to the street below.
yeah.
Showing
Remember
your
back
ass
in the
off.
90s when like artists would draw female characters and they would have like no spine, so you could see both their ass and their boobs.
Yeah.
And they would like twist. It was like the artist here.
The broken
had
back
no-
syndrome.
He was like, okay, she's gonna be facing the ground, so we can't see her boobs. So we need to show as much of her ass as possible to make up for the fact
We gotta sell that ass.
That's exactly it, Sal.
it's an interesting point that she is presenting her ass for us.
Yeah,
like that is literally what she is doing. She's put herself in such a position
Yeah, here's the thing.
that she's like, and here it is.
If you
Here
kept
it
the
is.
same pose, but you turned it so that the cover was seeing this pose from the other side, it would
Yeah.
be unfathomably
Yeah.
offensive.
Yes,
people
it
would
would.
freak
And
the hell
it's
out.
the same
Especially with how
thing.
tight her outfits are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and by the way, I think that's actually a reaction to the fact that because Spider-Woman's one of the few female characters who wears clothes from her ears to her toes, that's their way of making up for the fact that they can't sexualize her. Like, she's not showing any leg, she's not showing off any butt, there's no cleavage, so we have to do something. And also, I've noticed over the years that, like, superhero costumes are just, let me draw a human, like, in their idealized form, and then put a costume on it.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of how they draw it. Like, that's why you can see their muscles through it. It's why Batman, the movies, have to have muscles actually built into the suit. Like, why would they do that? Like, why would
Nipple
Iron Man in the
armor.
90s have abs?
Yeah.
No. The nipple armor was the peak.
The nipple
Yeah.
armor, yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
think-
Batman can't have bat-shaped nipples.
No.
I think the way you fix this image, if you were going to, is all he had to do was clearly she's on. It looks like she's on one of those ledges that you know you'd be on a roof and you could look over it.
Yeah.
Is just to take the camera and rotate it down so we're looking up at her face.
Yeah, if she was looking
Just-
down at us.
Yeah, let
doing
her.
the same pose?
Yeah,
Right,
let
that
her
would've-
be above us.
But
That
then
would've
you
fixed
see
everything.
her freakish, like, triple jointed giraffe neck.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
she look,
kinda
like I
high.
said before, like when we first saw this, like she looks like the chick from The Grudge, like she's getting ready to like kill somebody. Like that's what she reminds me of. But okay, so I love playing devil's advocate with people, which is why I love debating with people about stuff. But Tiffany, I'm going to ask you one more question.
Sure.
All right, what if I told you that the artist that drew this picture, or that initially created it, said that he's drawing her in such a way to where she's presenting the fact that she's comfortable with her own sexuality and says that I'm okay looking like this. I mean, couldn't an argument be made to say that this is a woman who's confident with her sexuality
Okay.
and isn't
All right,
concerned about
I
how
see
it
you're
looks?
going. Look, you know, most women you see on the street, if they can, you know, if they have a good body or whatever, they're gonna probably want to show it off. Usually, it's because it's based off of a whole lot of work. And I don't mean like medical work.
That's
I
true,
mean
yeah.
like physical work, like you went to the gym, you watch what you eat, that kind of thing, and you're gonna want to show off the work that you've done, and you're empowered by that. Again, that's fine. If he wants to put her in something so tight because he's saying that that's because she is, you know,
Confident.
who she is and strong, personality, fine. But I can tell you right now, someone like that wouldn't be in a position like that. They would not pose themselves like that in such a subservient way.
Yeah, if she
And
was
that's-
confident that like she wouldn't be on the receiving end.
No. And then she wouldn't put herself in that kind of position because 9 times out of 10, a strong female will not do that. Like, we're not, like, why would I put myself in that kind of position at all? Like, if I want you to see how, like, hot I look in something, I'm going to just show it to you. But I'm not going to, like, crouch down and be like, hey, is that good? You
Yeah.
like that? No.
It's very like
It's not
I
happening.
noticed
ass.
like all the
I want to jump into this. I'm just going to say that's bullshit because that he would even claim that because drawing that image, you know what people are going to take that as. No, I guarantee you, no one looked at that image and went, "She is such a strong and empowered female that she can
yeah.
she can stick her ass in my face and she is all
that
for
much.
it."
I get that much, but if anything, art is interpretation, and I'm sure Tiffany can can tell me like that I'm 100% right here. Like two people can look at the exact same thing and see two different things.
Absolutely.
And so the problem here is that you have a circumstance where you have all of us here I think we can all universally agree, looking at that picture, that's clearly a character that is designed to be displayed in a sexualized and submissive position. I don't think there's any real debate here on whether or not that's the case. But you could have somebody else who would look at that and say, that's not really the case. Like, she's just a woman who's happy about her own sexuality.
Oh.
We've got a litany of evidence given the skin-tight outfits that she wears and all that kind of good
Absolutely.
stuff. I mean, you can make a number of cases that way. But
Right.
And that's-
like I said, I was just arguing for the sake
No,
of
I totally understand that, and I think that is where that generational gap does come into play. Because I guarantee you that artist looks at that and he probably doesn't have the same thought. Like, he understands. He's like, no, she is sexy. He
Yeah.
doesn't understand that he's gone too far in the opposite direction. I don't even think he's trying intentionally
To elicit a reaction.
to demean or degrade the female form or the character. He's like, no, that's just how. That's how I want to. Like,
that's how I
portray
see
a woman.
sexy.
Yeah, that's it. That's sexy, and that's
Yeah.
it. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this so many times about how, like, when Sue Storm was created, I mean, her power was she went away.
Like Sue's power, like you got a guy
Initial-
can catch on fire, and a guy can stretch, and we got a rock man, and we got a woman who will go away.
Like, she just
If
fades
only-
away.
Greatest power ever.
If only
Right.
and she has another. If we can give her two powers. One is she can go away, and the other one is she can shut up, and then it'll be perfect. She'll be the ideal woman for us.
But
Oh,
again, I
no,
understand
third power. She can cook the most incredible meal.
And she can plunger sandwiches, the likes of which have never been rivaled by
all
any
while
devil.
not.
Yeah, without
Her,
shoes
her
or-
cupcakes are the bomb of the 1950s Fantastic Four.
Wow.
But again, I know that comes from a generational gap, and over time that character has changed. So I think that part of the issue was that this is coming from an older artist who just doesn't understand how the world is going to perceive his art.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
so
remember
You know what?
that's-
And while I agree with you on that, because I think that's the same.
Before,
Well, I was gonna say I agree with you because I think that's the same problem we have with Adam Hughes. I think Adam Hughes does amazing art, but some of his characters are very much overly done up, and
Yeah.
that's definitely because
No,
Adam Hughes is like a
like-
60-year-old guy.
I
You know?
like Adam Hughes's pinup his like 50s style like.
Yeah,
rocket
he's great with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And while I agree with you, Tiffany, it's like you said at the very beginning of this discussion. How did the rest of Marvel look at that and go, yeah, sell that?
Right.
That is
Like,
what I
it's
cannot
the-
comprehend.
Yeah, it's not even like this guy is a veteran. This isn't Neil Adams doing them a cover. This isn't like Jack Kirby.
Well, yeah,
coming out
where
of
no one will
retirement.
question it. They're like, oh, it's Neil Adams. Well, whatever.
Well, no, I mean like, but it's not even like a legend in the comics world who is like coming off of. It's not like Stan Lee, who, if he could draw, like was like, I'll draw you guys a cover, and it was this. I mean, people would have a huge problem with it, and he'd be accountable for it. But even then, like, that would be a reason for Marvel to go, let's give it a pass and let's put it out. But like, this guy is like, we got this Italian painter to do this cover for us. Thanks. Like,
Well, I can tell you exactly why I passed at Marvel because of this portion of the podcast. Because people would sit around and say, "Oh my God, what was Marvel?" Like it'd be free publicity. But that was the whole reason why I asked that question in the first place, Tiffany, or those series of questions, was because like a couple of years ago I took like a semester of gender studies, but nonetheless, like we were talking about like advertising, like women in advertising, and if you look at like a lot of different advertisements in terms of like selling a product to men or even to women, like you have women in these positions where they're either like submissive, or you might have a woman like half her body's in the trunk, indicating that she was killed or something like that. Like you have all these different kinds of advertisements that are played out in such a way to where it looks like for some reason like women are somehow being like subjected, or being I guess maybe like used in some kind of a negative fashion. But at the end of the day, like people still buy the product. And so the question is, what would motivate somebody to create like an advertisement that way? And it's just based on the simple fact that it sells. Like it just,
I was gonna say,
it sells,
to pretty much wrap up most of this conversation here. I did just go to my comic book store and said, when the new Spider-Woman comes out, put that on my list, my pull list, and that variant cover, I want a copy of it.
I mean, even,
my thinking as a collector is this is making headlines, probably going to be worth something, and it's probably a $10 variant.
Yeah.
I mean,
but in all honesty, I just went there and put it aside, just so.
And if the negativity gets too vitriol or gets too vitriolic, Marvel will pull it.
Yeah.
And then it'll be even rarer.
Yes.
But they'll wait until the last minute to do that.
Yes. I mean, part of me doesn't honestly think that any of this was originally planned.
No.
And I think now that it's happening, they're like, okay, let's spin this, let's take this, and let's run with it.
It's kind of like what happened with the Deadpool trailer leak. That wasn't planned at all, but then they spun it into we might be able to do this.
And here's the HD version.
HD release,
Yeah.
I mean, we pretty much said it all. I mean, like when it comes down to it, like, we all agree that sex sells, and it's.
Are you gonna buy the cover? I think.
Am I gonna buy that cover?
Are you gonna buy that cover?
No, because I don't
buy
think.
that book.
I mean, like, no, not even because it's like gratuitous. Because again, like, I read Saga and I love every image in that book, regardless of what it is. I love it and it fits with the story and it makes sense and it's done for a reason.
Yeah.
I think this is bad art and I don't want to own bad art. Yeah. And that's literally what it comes down
this
to.
art sucks, and I don't want none of that shit.
I read Saga too, and I agree with you. I like the way Saga portrays it, and I read a lot of the indie books now because that's what we've been doing over at the channel, and a lot of them do it in a tasteful way. I don't feel like I'm reading porn. And then there's some of them that I'm like, I'm reading porn.
You're like, no, you're just doing this to get a rise. You're just doing this because you think it's edgy, not because it has anything to do necessarily with the story or building a world.
Yeah.
By the way, that image of Spider-Woman reminds me of something I would see at a con, like some no-names booth, and I'd walk by and be like, what the hell is like nah.
Yeah. It'll have like a $200 price tag, and he'll have sold like 900 of them that day.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess we can all just agree that this definitely could have been a better designed image, but that Marvel is using the publicity of it to just be like, hey, even if you don't buy this, like buy something. So
buy the train.
Okay. So
if you moving on to the next topic, do you want me to move on?
That's what I was going to say. We can move on to the next thing.
All right. Next topic then is, so we've discussed the Axis event that's coming up, and we've discussed the reaction to the Marvel Spider-Woman thing. So now we're going to flip switch and go over to DC. Yep. Now DC is ending this month by ending every single one of their books. Any books that ended last month, they're getting an extra issue just to get an extra story. Batman's got one about Batman just catching a random villain.
It's awesome.
Oh, I loved it. It was great.
It's one of the best Batman books written. It's literally one of the best Batman books written in the last 10 years.
It's just a single Batman shot about Batman literally stating, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on, but I still need to prove to Gotham I catch the general.
But I still got work to do. It's just Pure Batman. You didn't even need him acknowledging it. It was just, you could read that book 20 years from now, 20 years ago, it would be a solid comic, no question about it.
It was a
and it was a
great
done in
book.
one, which I never get.
Oh yeah, they never do that anymore. You never get to buy one book. But a lot of comics are doing that right now because, as a matter of fact, so is Marvel right now because they're setting up for Axis. All new X-Men just did one of those one shots. But what's going on now is we're setting up for this event right here. This has been going on weekly for 3 months now.
Yeah.
Now, a little bit of history as to what's going on here. I explained it a little to Rob. I explained it a little to David already. But what DC has done is in May for the Free Comic Book Day, we had a situation where we had Future's End. Future's End was 10 years in the future. And DC has lost to Brother's Eye. Brother's Eye is a giant robot thing and basically turns everyone into these half robots that Brother Eye can control. Even Superman was taken down by Brother's Eye.
Yeah, somehow.
All right. Okay, they never explained how, but we lost Superman.
I have no idea what the hell's going on here. I don't read DC, so.
Giant robot absorbed Superman.
Oh,
now, Batman being the only guy remaining, and Oz, of course, always an old man at this point, and Batman Beyond, Terry McGinnis, said, we need to fix this. Batman himself was going to go back in time to before Brother Eye was even invented and prevent it from happening. At the last second, they get attacked, and Terry McGinnis has to go back in time, and he wasn't able to stabilize where he's going, and what he does is he ends up 5 years from current New 52 storylines. Yeah. So he's 5 years in the future. Now, for the last 3 months, we've been playing this stupid game of letting all of our big heroes are gone. Batman's missing. Superman is wearing a mask, and we're questioning if it's really him. Wonder Woman pops up, I think she popped up randomly, maybe not. Everybody's missing. We don't know what happened, and we've been slowly establishing that there was a war with Earth 2, and we won, but there was a lot of damage and a lot of things happened during that. We don't fully know what's going on. All of the Earth 2 people have been captured and put into these cells. And we've now been with this book. I hate it because it doesn't really establish anything that's going on. It just keeps filling in filler with crap characters no one cares about. It's following Grifter and hold on.
Good old Grifter.
It's like Grifter, Frankenstein, Amethyst. Everybody who failed in a solo book ended up in Future's End.
What a great way to sell comics.
I know.
Here's an image character and a timeless monster and this.
Oh my god! I just saw this. Here's the checklist for September.
Oh,
wow! That looks like Secret Invasion, man. Here's a year's worth of shit that you need to follow up on.
That's funny because my Secret Invasion list was 7 books. It was Secret Invasion 1 through 7, and it was great.
Dude, the tie-ins, dude, it's like a.
Let me finish on explaining. We'll go on with these tie-ins in a minute. But,
okay.
So basically, Terry McGinnis came back. It's 5 years in the future. Brother Eye has been started, but he isn't at the point he's at. So Terry McGinnis has been trying to stop it. But at the same time, we're recovering from a war with Earth 2. There's a massive threat coming to face off with the world, and we don't fully know what's going on right now. Yep. They've left a lot of questions. It was almost like watching Lost. You don't know, but there's a lot of questions going on.
Yeah.
And next month, every book in DC ends, and they all jump 5 years to meet with this timeline and start addressing these questions.
Yeah.
That we've now been posing for the last 3 months with this. Okay.
Yep.
Now this is let me read this checklist for you guys real quick. This is what's coming out in September.
Just
Only
1 month.
in September. Okay. If you want to follow this event, you need to pick up Action Comics 1, Aquaman 1, Aquaman and the Others 1, Batgirl 1, Batman 1, Batman and Robin 1, Batman and Superman 1, Batwing, Batwoman, Birds of Prey. These are all number ones. They're all started over with Future's End number 1. Booster Gold, Catwoman, Constantine, Detective Comics, Earth 2, Grayson, Green Arrow, Green Lantern Corps, Green Lantern New Guardians, Harley Quinn, Infinity Men and the Forever People. That's a totally new book.
God.
Justice League Future's End, Justice League Dark Future's End, Justice League United Future's End, New Suicide Squad, Red Hood and the Outlaws, Red Lantern, Sinestro, Star Spangled War Stories. That's a new one. They got rid of that book. Superboy, Supergirl, Superman and Wonder Woman, Swamp Thing, Teen Titans, The Flash, Trinity of the Sin, Pandora, Trinity of Sin, Phantom, Wonder Woman Future's End, World's Finest Future's End. Every single one of them has a variant cover. So my question for the general comic book reading public.
Who the fuck is going to read all
why
that?
should we spend $200
I know.
on comics?
Most likely, you just still need to follow the stories that you want to follow. But I
Right.
guarantee you, just like when the New 52 launched, there's going to be tidbits as to what's going on in the rest of the books in the series. And to
Yep.
really understand it,
So-
you need to buy every freaking book that comes out.
So
Yeah,
just
eat me.
to give you guys an idea.
Wait, hold on. All for a time jump 5 years in the future.
And they're gonna
with-
undo.
what they're claiming right now is that this may or may, because this also ties into multiversity,
Yeah.
that this may or may not cause another crisis in the DC universe,
Yep.
which will then retroactively get rid of all of this and bring back the original DC universe.
Oh
Be
my
so
god.
great.
Hang on. So,
Just to
can
give
I
you
ask
guys
you guys
an idea.
something as comic book readers? Does it annoy you or annoy the hell out of you that for some reason DC tends to try to constantly focus on new readers as opposed to the people who they already have? Because it seems like right now, if they're going to be restarting at number ones, that they're trying to cater to someone like me who hasn't jumped onto anything, because they're like, hey, come on in right now. It's a number one. You want to get in at a number one because then you can just follow it from there instead of having people who are long-running fans who are like, I just want to have a story that makes sense and I can follow.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is
That's,
that is why
that's
I love,
exactly
that's
why I
love
can't
DC
get into
comics.
DC's continuity.
That's
Well,
why I
Marvel
love
does the same
DC.
thing.
Exactly why.
No, I'm sorry. That's why I love Marvel. No, Marvel does it to a degree, but not the same degree. Like Cameron was asking me earlier. He was like, I've been reading Marvel now. Like, what's a good place to start? Because the problem that he has is, like, he was reading Deadpool, and he's reading, like, various other characters. All right? The good thing about Marvel is Marvel focuses on new readers and the old readers. Like, what was I was talking about earlier? Richard Rider. I said Richard Rider's going to come back.
Yep.
You know, he might be a good guy, might be a bad guy, whatever, but it'll be Marvel Now, Richard Rider, issue number 1. And then you'll just kind of start off with this new version of Richard Rider. But it also caters to the old fans, because the old fans know the history of Richard Rider, and the old fans want Richard Rider to come back as Nova. And so you have this element where you have Marvel tying into the old stuff and tying into the new stuff, and they're bringing in the interests of people on both sides. So Tiffany
Yeah.
can sit down and say, okay, like, who the hell is Richard Rider? Why do people love him?
Yeah.
And she can just read Richard Rider number 1 and say, okay, he's Nova, he was in the Cancerverse, you know, whatever, and she can pick it up and know what's going on.
Yeah.
And then Sal can be like, okay, Richard Rider was the first Nova, he's the best one, done and done. And that's
Yep.
it. and,
Well,
and people
and
on both
I
sides
actually agree with you on
understand.
that. Because I just did those videos. What is Marvel Now? What is
Yeah.
the New 52?
That's
and
why I brought that
I
up.
like Marvel Now's mentality better because they do a whole bunch of new number ones. Now, this is very similar to the Marvel Now system. Because what it is they're giving you a new number one. They're giving you, the new reader, a jumping off point, Tiffany.
Yep.
But at the same time, in Marvel Now, all that old history is still valid.
Yeah.
So if you are
Right.
an old-time reader, you'll understand more of the inside jokes and all that stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
The first time New 52 happened, they did this and they erased everything. So you had to be a new reader even if you were an
Right.
old reader.
yeah.
This one is jumping 5 years in the future. So all of our old history with these old books is still good.
Okay.
But my concern is going 5 years in the future, is any of the old stories going to matter?
Yeah.
Superman being Doomsday, is that going to matter?
Will it
5
matter?
Years in the future?
No.
Yeah.
It'll have happened. Like, I think they're gonna keep the continuity that has been happening for 3 years.
Right.
But I mean, like, if you're gonna jump ahead 5 years and you're gonna age your characters 5 years older than they were when you rebooted the universe at New 52, it means you have to go back 5 years ago again, like at the end of it, which means that whatever's happening in this current timeline 5 years from now will be undone, which means that this story is irrelevant.
Yes.
Well, what I think
So-
they're doing, honestly, is one of the coolest things about the New 52 and what drove a lot of sales was the question of what happened. Because we did Justice League, saw how the whole team came together, and
Yep.
then we jumped 5 years then.
Yeah.
And then we had series like Zero Year. We had the Zero Issues explaining how a lot of guys got their powers. We had a whole bunch of mysteries that we were able to go back and resolve and go back
Yep.
to. And I think what DC's run into now is they've answered all of those.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what do we do now? Oh, let's go 5 more years, and then we have 5 more years of backstory to do better with.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Oh, by
Like
the
the
way,
biggest question right now. The biggest question is who is this guy? This
It's Captain Marvel.
is the guy's posing as Superman, but he acts more brash. He's more to the point, and he's wearing a mask. Now the debate is that Superman who's been affected by the war, or is that somebody else? And if it's somebody else, that means Superman is also missing, along with Batman. Green Arrow's been killed. That one blows my mind that we've killed Green Arrow in the Future's End event.
Well, they've killed him twice already, so I mean, what's another time?
But all right. So one thing, people in the chat love you, Tiffany. People in the chat think you're awesome. But one of the really cool things.
Tiffany, can you come back and Sal just take a few weeks off?
I mean, I think we should have Tiffany on the podcast more
Sal,
often. Like,
it
people really
still
seem to like
represents
Tiffany.
TV Little House. What are you worried about?
You're a better face of the company than I am.
But this is one of the funny things because, like I said, Marvel does a better job, I think, tying into the old stuff while keeping the new stuff. Like, for example, during Avengers versus X-Men, there's a point where Iron Man is talking to Captain America. Like, are you sure you're doing the right thing? Like, basically facing off against the X-Men. And Captain America says, yes, like, I'm trying to save the world. And Iron Man says, it wasn't too long ago, I was on the opposite side and you were fighting against me. It's the homage to Civil War. But Civil War is pre-Marvel now. So it's like, okay.
It still happened.
Exactly.
Like, if you're a new reader and you read that, you just go, ooh, what happened?
Yeah, and then you go back and you
read.
Civil War was sick, man.
Yeah, exactly. And so
And
I don't know why we
like,
became surfers.
I can only think of one time that Marvel legitimately tried to New 52 their stuff, and they didn't reboot the universe. Well, okay, Heroes Reborn, but let's not talk about that.
Yeah, oh no, let's talk about Heroes Reborn.
No.
I love Heroes
It's
Reborn.
so terrible. But like, that was more or less like their Ultimate Universe. But like,
wasn't that what Ultimate is? Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically the Ultimate Universe. They got Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee to draw Marvel all over again, with no Spider-Man. But when Spider-Man's clone came back, or when they killed the clone and Spider-Man became reinstated, they did a book called Chapter 1, where they just said, you know what, let's just get John Byrne to retcon a whole bunch of stuff from Spider-Man's past. So, like, Spider-Man getting bit by the spider, instead of the spider getting, like, hit by radiation and it bit him and then he goes home, there's a lab explosion and the spider gets irradiated and Dr. Octopus was there and he got his arms grafted to his body. And, like, because Sandman and Norman Osborn have very similar drawn hair from the 60s, now they're related. And Doctor Doom had a very similar technology to the Chameleon in Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 4, so let's have the Chameleon actually be Latvian and he works for Doctor Doom. Like, let's connect all this crap. And John Byrne will write it and draw it, and nobody liked it. And what they did was, at the end, they were like, listen, this is what happened. Like, this is now Spider-Man's history. And the readers just said, no, it's not. and then the next, like, and then because they did Chapter 1 and it was like a mini series, and they came back to Amazing Spider-Man and Web of Spider-Man and everything else. And when they came back, they just said, yeah, that didn't happen. Nah, never mind. Like, they tried to they tried to relaunch it, and they were also doing that as a way to make Peter Parker younger. Like, that was their way to kind of
they always try to reset him to be younger. That's like,
which is like retarded because it never
he's
worked.
relatable as a kid. Never let him age.
Trust me, when I was 9, he was married and he was still awesome. So whatever. But, like, the fact is that Chapter 1 thing was, like, I think the only time that Marvel dipped their toe in a crisis type water, and the backlash was so severe, they were like, let's just not even try that again. Like, that's the only time I remember them actually trying to say, like, no, the stuff you remember, that didn't happen at all.
Yeah.
Well, have you guys been reading the rumor mill? Supposedly the incursions, Age of Ultron, Wolverine snap, and everything. All of this is in Axis is all leading to a Marvel crisis type event to reset everything.
Yes, I heard that. Like, my guess is if they do anything, which they might not because it's Marvel, we don't know. They might take the multiverse or all the different dimensions, reduce them to one, and push everything into one, like, amalgam. So, like, everyone's young, but everything happened. Like, so it's more of a soft reboot than an actual resetting.
Well, that's what Marvel Now technically was. It was just technically a soft reboot.
Well, even then, like, it's not like, I hate that because they didn't reboot anything. They just renumbered the books and started over. Like, they just did what they're supposed to do every couple of years, which was clean up the story a little. And they don't have to clean up the continuity. Everything can still happen. They just need to make the story less complicated this time around. So Spider-Man can fight Venom this time. He doesn't have to fight, like, his life model decoy monster versions of his parents, who were actually a byproduct of the Harry Osborn Green Goblin, who was a puppet from the Chameleon. Like, we don't need that story. We just need a story where Spider-Man fights the Venom, and it's cool. Like, all that stuff still happened, but let's take it easy on our readers for a year. That's what they really did.
Marvel's really good at doing those kind of stories, though. Like
Yeah.
Siege. Like Siege, like there was no hidden hand. It was just like, Osborn and Loki, like, let's just invade Asgard and just take that shit over.
Yep.
Like, that's basically what happened. And then, like, Loki ends up killed or whatever it is. Like, he ends up getting destroyed by Sentry. And was it that one? Was it Dark Reign? I can't remember which one. Where
Dark
Loki
Reign
gets...
took place right. Dark Reign led up
Yeah.
to Siege.
Okay.
And it was great.
So
it was
it's
a cool idea.
Yeah.
It went Secret Invasion, Dark Reign, Siege.
You might even say that Forever Evil was inspired by it.
Nah.
Oh,
But
So,
nonetheless,
okay.
like...
Oh.
Marvel's
Don't you
really good at
tread
doing
on my
that.
skin,
So-
yo, get off of my DC.
So when did
So
the
I-
52 reboot?
2011.
2011. So 3 years later, they're
'Cause
renumbering.
it was rebooting when I was coming home from Afghanistan, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be so cool! I'll come
Okay.
home, I'll
So
start
now
buying
we're
comics
just-
again."
Yeah.
Now DC's just gonna be renumbering, but with a time jump.
Yep.
Right. Well, because
So it's like they're
for me
doing
with the
it
New
all over.
52, I used to just read trades like forever. I would wait for the whole thing to finish, put trades because I didn't know where to jump in, and that's where a lot of comic readers have. Like you can't jump mid story arc,
Right.
So I was just waiting for the trade to come out and read the trade. Then the New 52 happened, and for me, that was when I got back to buying weekly books because I was like, I know where it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that Tiffany is what Marvel did. Like Marvel got to this point in their continuity where they said like something had to change, and that's what happened with the House of M. You had this series whereby there were just so many mutants in the Marvel universe they just couldn't keep track of them all. Like there were
Right.
some mutants that pop up and then you just never saw or heard from them
Yep.
again because there was just no point in them being there. There
Wow,
were mutants
man.
that showed up and made force fields. There was actually one guy. He appeared, I think, in the 1960s, maybe the 1970s. I can't remember his name, but Jean Grey forced him to make a force field around himself, and he suffocated inside of it. Like there were just goofy characters that would pop up. So Marvel came along, and Marvel said, "Okay, House of M comes to an end.
No, House of M is
all
not the-
mutants are gone." No,
House of M did- no, House of M did a great
Benny,
job of
Benny,
cleaning
hold
up.
on, man. Let me explain this, man. My God, dude. So anyway, so Marvel reboots everything. They lead to that point, but they basically eliminate all the mutants. All right, that was step one. All right, then you had Civil War, where you had this whole conflict take place between superheroes that were not mutants. Mutants were out of the way at this point, and so it was something like dividing the lines, and it was just a really cool storyline. Then you had Secret Invasion, and Secret Invasion was Marvel sort of retconning everything that happened with Civil War. It was whole population, almost all, the entire Earth was replaced with Skrulls, and then the actual superheroes and normal people came back, and then Marvel came along. And they said, okay, now we're restarting everything. Like, everything's going to be totally revamped. Marvel Now, and Marvel Now is Marvel's version of the New 52 from DC, where you have,
Right.
like, all these #1 issues of all these characters. So you have, like, Magneto #1, and you have all these new backstories and stuff. And that's
Right.
where the whole thing that Benny was talking about coming from, where you have, like, the all-new X-Men, and you have the X-Men of the past coming into the future, or into the present, and all that kind of good stuff taking place.
Yeah.
I think you're giving Marvel too much credit. I
Oh,
like
come
Marvel.
on,
I do.
no,
And hold on.
come on.
Hold on.
Oh,
I
come
like
on.
Marvel. I do. But you can see, if you look at the marketing standpoint and the direct correlation to sales versus decisions, Marvel and DC came out with New 52. Marvel had no plans for reboots, no Marvel Now, no nothing.
Nope.
DC came out in New 52, and that was the biggest comic sales month, like, in 10 years. It was huge. And immediately following that, Marvel did X-Men versus the Avengers, which resolved in tons of new #1s.
Yep.
They didn't reboot the universe, but they rebooted all their books, Uncanny Avengers and stuff like that. I know you want to say House of M led in, it was purpose. House of M definitely was to clean up the mutants. Everything
that
from
was-
House of M to Avenger versus X-Men was just Bendis having fun with
Yeah,
stories.
that was an accident.
No, that's not true.
No,
Dude, they did
no,
not plan
that's
it. Look at
not-
the sales. You have to look at the
Sorry.
sales
That's,
reports.
no, I disagree.
DC DC beat Marvel in, like, the sales in that 1 month alone beat Marvel over the last like 3 years. And DC, forget it, they almost didn't exist at that point. Like,
Sales-
and that's why immediately following that we had Avengers versus X-Men, new #1s within a year.
No,
That was
They
why
why
they
do not directly correlate with story quality, though. Like,
I mean,
like,
I'll agree with you.
look
The
at-
House of
look
M
at-
was to clean up the mutants because that was a horrendous problem. We had
That
like
was-
4,000 fucking mutants.
That was Joe Quesada. He was like, he was like, they have their own island, like they have their own borough in New York. We need to
Yeah.
put a lid on this.
they had their own island, and then Cassandra Nova killed them all. So
Blew the
I
hell.
don't know if
Yeah.
you guys noticed, but I linked in the Skype call a character called Gold Balls.
Gold balls.
And his power is to create rubber balls out of his
Bounce off his
skin.
body.
Wow.
What?
And he's in
What?
123 issues
I mean,
somehow.
I'm not saying that Marvel didn't sit down immediately following New 52 and go, holy crap, look at how many comics sold, and we're Marvel. You can't beat Marvel. What should we do? Oh, let's do Avengers versus X-Men. Everyone gets mad. The X-Men blame the Avengers for not ever backing them during the House of M event and all that stuff. Well, we'll retroactively say all of this needs to be corrected, and then we'll just do new number ones. And then the Marvel Now was an experiment. I don't know if you're tracking that one either. If you look into the history of it, it was an experiment with phases on purpose. Because what happened was Marvel Now came out, and their sales blew New 52 out of the water, because that was a year after New 52 launched, and all of us readers were like, what the fudge is this? This doesn't make any... You've made things worse.
Yeah.
And so Marvel Now outsold them, so New 52 then said, here's phase 2, we're shutting down some books and bringing more, and Marvel Now was like, here's phase 2, and then Marvel Now was like, we're kicking your ass, 3, 4, 5, 9 phases, let's just do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you think any of the Marvel Now success also has to do with the success that Marvel's had with their movies? Because I know that must bring at least a small percentage of people in just wondering, what am I missing out on?
It does.
I think what they did was, because if you look at the history and the sales, Marvel, DC New 52 came out, Marvel Now came out, and what Marvel Now initially was reinventions of teams, new writing teams, stuff like that. It wasn't what it is now. Marvel Now originally was like Uncanny Avengers, all new X-Men, stuff you hadn't expected.
Yep.
On the following waves, it then turned into Magneto #1,
Yeah.
Cyclops
Right.
Hawkeye #1, and they were, and I think that was from the reaction to the movies of people like having a character they can enjoy and having a starting point for that character.
Yep.
Right.
And I've actually spoke with the comic book guys at the store to see how this has been panning out, and they state like the way Marvel sends it to them how they're going to do this. They only tell them that there's a planned 8 issues to 12 issues. The books are
Right.
expected to end within that, unless they are the next big thing.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that would make sense because I'm sure your general public may not have the stamina to keep buying a series over years and years, as opposed to they might just enjoy a short, mini series essentially. And then if they end up becoming a comic book fan, there's so many other titles they may choose from then.
Yeah.
And that's the whole conflict behind it, because you have characters like Marvel's really hyping up Paul Rudd and the new Ant-Man movie, but
Yeah.
Ant-Man's never had a solo series, like never.
Except for Eric O'Grady.
Okay, I don't count that.
That's like it was just 20 issues.
Okay. There's so many characters that have. Okay, you know what happens when a character has 20 issues? It means their shit got canceled because nobody wanted to buy their comics.
Yeah, it got canceled, but
That's
it
what
was
it
written
means.
by Robert Kirkman, and it was a serious book.
I count a serious solo issue when we're getting into like 100 issues. Like that's when I say,
Alright,
okay, this.
well, that's
person's
not going to happen
clearly-
ever anymore.
Yeah, I know it's never.
They're not gonna do that.
I know, but I'm saying like.
But the Marvel Now, you know what they're doing when that happens, right? A great test case of what they're doing right now. Gambit. We know Gambit's popular, right?
Yeah.
Gambit got a solo book. I don't think it went past 6 issues.
No.
Well, no,
So
but
instead of canceling Gambit, they're like, Gambit now leads X-Force.
I mean, it's a smart move to make.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like I mean, Ant-Man has his big moments, but Ant-Man was an Avenger. He was always an Avenger.
Yep.
He's part of the Avengers team, and the 2 biggest stories involving Ant-Man, Hank Pym, as far as I'm concerned, are like the original instance where he created Ultron. I guess you could consider the one where Ultron like hypnotized him, whatever, to where he made Jocasta, and then you could talk about the Age of Ultron, where Wolverine breaks time, goes back in time, kills Hank Pym, and then does it again to stop himself from doing it. So, those are like some of the biggest stories involving Hank Pym, Ant-Man, and then Scott Lang. I mean, he was okay, but hell, man, he got killed. So.
Yeah. Well, he came back thanks to Avengers Children's Crusade.
Yeah.
As a layman, the only things I know about Ant-Man is that he can get small and communicate with insects. He created Ultron, and he hit his wife. That is what I know about
he
him.
is not.
That's pretty much the only significant things in his history. Unless you want to
Everybody's
put him
like,
a Yellow
him is a
Jacket.
wife beater. That's what everybody says. Like, Hank Pym
it.
beats his wife.
Yeah, but even in the comics, he's still a wife beater. In
Yeah.
Age of Ultron, they're like, they're like, oh, by the way, you're gonna make Ultron, and he's gonna kill everyone, he's gonna rule the world, so don't do that, and we're gonna lose, and it's gonna be horrible. Oh, and don't beat your wife.
Yeah, don't hit your wife. Yeah.
Don't hit your wife. It's just not. It's
He,
not.
he really
not cool.
regrets it, but
Well, I'm sure a lot of
No,
people do,
Yellow
man.
Jacket.
it's not
regrets.
like you
I don't know
can
about
take it
that.
back.
Oh,
He
God,
feels real
Yellow
bad
Jacket.
about it.
Because
They got
he
back together a
does.
couple times since then, so like
Yeah,
You know,
like
they've actually reconciled at least 2 other times since he hit her, and never during their relationship or afterwards did he hit her again. So
Yeah.
That's something.
he learned his lesson.
And he did in the Mighty Avengers Dark Reign book really have a scene with Jocasta, who's like some weird like
Android.
android
Jocasta
that
was
he
supposed to be
put
the mate of Ultron.
the Wasp
Yeah.
That I
mind
my research.
into.
Yeah.
It was.
I like how
it's really
Dave's trying to
strange, but
put this whole thing together as we're going. He's like, "There's a wasp, and her mind was stolen." And
Hold the phone,
Well,
gentlemen.
there was Ant-Man and Yellow Jacket at the same time. I don't know how that works.
but
And
he had a scene where she was asking about like why he would hit her, and he just said, well, I didn't really think about it. It was just something I did in the moment, and I've regretted it ever since, and I'm so sorry, and I wish I could tell her that I'm sorry, but she's dead now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And because she like exploded in the Secret Invasion like final battle.
yeah, well, you know what's funny about it though is Marvel likes to ground their characters in realism, but they always give them these like one defining trait of, oh, that was their moment, that was the thing
Yeah.
they did. And Hank
Of
Pym
course,
has always been
Iron Man
Hank
has
Pym's
that every like 6
Yeah.
minutes.
I was gonna say Iron Man.
Yeah.
Iron Man's got the alcoholism, and the
Yeah.
whole Iron Man versus Hulk thing. It was that was the reason why he made the Hulk. Oh, he was drinking that 50-year-old bottle. They made a point to state it was a 50-year-old bottle of scotch. Like, do we need to know at this point that Iron Man's rich? Like,
Yeah. Well, I'm drinking a full
But,
bottle
like-
of Johnny Walker Blue because
Yeah.
I'm rich.
I know. It's like do you need to establish he has money? Like, but
Yeah.
that's
kind
they
of the
showed his
kicker.
payment. It was Tony Stark for 1 hour of work, $500,000, and a 50-year-old bottle of scotch. I'm like, you do what?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kicker when it comes to characters. Like even now, like Wolverine still brings up Jean Grey. Like during Avengers vs. X-Men, he was talking to Hope Summers about
Oh,
the
yeah.
Phoenix Force, and he was like, "The Phoenix took someone from me that I love." It's like it's been like 30 years, man.
Dude,
Like,
that's
let
insane.
it go.
The new Wolverine movie, he's coping with killing Jean Grey, and the whole time in the movie, I'm like, cool, man, he's coping with it. But didn't that freaking thing happen like 7 years ago in movie time, which is like 29 years real world? Like,
Yeah,
you're
so come
acting
on,
like
dude.
this was yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it happened like a week and a half ago. Like it's been a while, man. Like I understand it takes its toll, but it's time to move on.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna go
You
ahead and-
killed the woman you love. Oh
Yeah.
well.
Oh, well.
You're Wolverine.
But yeah, it's weird to me. All right, so we're running. I think we're actually running pretty close.
3 hours.
3 hours.
We all ran our hours beforehand. We're good.
Well,
We're
I mean, we've only been streaming for 2 hours, so
But remember, we do lose.
Whatever, we got 3 more.
We
we got
lose,
3
like,
more.
It falls apart, doesn't it, after a couple hours?
No, I mean, we're not. I'm not showing any problem.
the
with it.
quality does to a certain extent, but if we're not seeing it yet, then it's just
Yeah,
there's
it's
there's
fine
no
right now.
predetermined time at this point. It's gonna fall apart.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm watching the stream at the moment, so
And still, no one has explained to me the first 8 pages that I read of that
Of multiplicity.
multiversity.
multiplicity.
Oh,
Are we
God,
talking about
no,
Michael
it's
Keaton
that
movies?
bad.
Yeah, the guy
Okay, well, what happens is Michael Keaton duplicates himself, and
Oh, I can
then the
explain
movie
this
just
to you.
goes downhill from
Well,
there.
you
Yeah,
see
he-
Kevin
he-
Bacon wanders into town.
Oh God, Kevin Bacon.
No, hold
man.
on. I can actually explain this because they did an interview with Grant Morrison about this, explaining what the opening is. The multiversity, the storyline for this, and Sal, let me see if I can explain to you why DC gets crazy with this crap. Okay, the multiversity is comic books. That's what it is. That's what he's explained. In the comic, characters are reading the comic of multiversity, or like I think for issue 1's like they're reading Ultraman or something like that. And in that comic, like in this one, the main character's reading Ultra Comics, whole part of the multiversity thing. What is this? And so it's like a meta thing. Like he's in there reading the comic you're reading, and the comic that he's reading is Earth 7, which is this one. So like it's like layered on top of itself, kind of a thing.
Right. And I went to one of the sites that had the first 8 pages up as the preview, and I read through it, and I thought to myself, I would never buy this based on these first 8 pages.
Oh, I know, yeah.
I was like, I feel like you're being intentionally confusing just because you think that is good writing.
That's Grant Morrison.
Oh God! Like if you think that's difficult, like here's a challenge for you. If you think that's tough, here's a challenge. Assemble for me the chronological reading order of the Age of Apocalypse. Like, tell me in what order I should read all those comics. Like,
Oh,
that
Age of
is a
Apocalypse?
challenge.
That's why we don't do Age of Apocalypse.
That's why we don't
guys.
do Age of Apocalypse. Marvel came along and said, here's like 110 issues. Like, see if you can sort it out.
Good luck.
Shit.
Well, Clone
Just to
Saga
give
is
you-
like 11 volumes of trades. Like,
Yeah.
eat me.
I want to say
have
one
no
thing, and I
problem.
can see why you were confused, because if I didn't explain that to you right now,
Right?
Multiversity opens with one guy reading the comic,
Yep.
then it jumps to a pirate monkey,
Yep.
then it jumps to Nix Uton, which is basically our watcher,
Yep.
Yeah.
saying that he's the super judge. Then the monkey, Nix Uton, and what appears to be, I don't know, Black Superman? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, Black Superman.
Are
That
now
could be-
fighting
That could be Obama Superman. We
what
don't know.
apparently looks like Shuma Gora from Marvel.
Yeah.
It's a giant eye monster. It's the
Yeah.
one between the dimensions.
Maybe it's their version of Starro.
So just to give you guys an idea, I know you mentioned, Rob, Age of Apocalypse. Age of Apocalypse was a year's worth of comics, right?
And they were
like-
very good, yes.
Yes, and they were very good, but the whole collection between the full omnibus, which is about 1,200 pages, and the companion, which is the books obviously surrounding what goes on in the omnibus, that's like 700, right?
Mhm.
So that's 1,800 pages. The Future's End omnibus, which is a couple months of comics at most, is 912 pages.
Wait, what?
That's yeah. That's what you were saying with all of the books that you have to collect to follow the event.
Oh, you're talking about the whole collection. I
Yeah,
thought you were talking about this
this
piece
is-
of crap. I'm like,
No,
I'm
no,
not
no,
buying
no.
that many issues.
No, but the entire collection is almost 1,000 pages, and it comes out in December. So
Yeah.
it's probably ending sometime
I think
early
it's
in
1 month.
November, so they have time to print it.
No, honestly, I think it's a 1 to 2 month
Oh my
series.
goodness.
I think it's literally supposed to happen in September and October. Oh no! I know what you're looking at. Okay, every September DC does a anniversary deal where every book matches up for 1 month. That's what that is. Why they're doing them all. But normally the matchup is like, oh, this is just the origins of all the characters. Oh, this is the new reboot. This looks like you need to buy all the issues to know what the fudge is going on. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
And so-
I'm-
Well, if this is a collection of all those books, like this isn't like this is all of the books like printed in order. This is the story for Future's End,
Yeah.
yeah.
and
Well,
it's
no, it's not gonna be.
912
What
pages.
what that's going to be, because if you look at it, you can get issue zeros. You can also get the initial launch of the new
Yeah.
52, which is
I
all
know.
52 issues, issue ones. And that's probably just going to be the issue ones to Future End. Because Future's End is, from what we've been told, supposed to resolve closer to March and April, where it's going to, this is where the rumors come out of, collide with the original universe.
Yeah.
So this is an event that's going to go on for the next like 6 months, and I'm probably going to get to the end of it and not care, and at the end of it be like, thank God we're back to normal. That's kind of
Yeah.
like what happened with me in the Batman 0 year, like 2.5 year story that Scott Snyder was writing. I eventually got to the point where I'm just like, dude, can we just end this crap and get me back to modern day Batman?
He was really spinning his wheels towards the last 4 months.
Yeah, like, dude, really? How long of a story are you gonna write about
Yeah.
a time displaced, basically, Batman? Because he's totally not matching with anything at this point.
Well, no, it was a prequel. I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you a retcon. We're going to retcon in that Riddler was one of Batman's first villains, and there you go.
But no, Dave. Like, I get the point that you're making. Like, I'm not saying that comics are not bigger now than they used to be. Like, there's certainly more comics in a shorter amount of time now than they used to be. But what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, like, now at least it's ordered. Like, at least you get like a table of
Well,
contents.
yeah,
more or
that's
less.
true.
But like
that
back
is
then, it was
true.
just like, here's a shit ton of comics, and hopefully you can figure it out. But if you can't, well, then you better go online and find a reading
Dude.
order.
Oh, yeah.
No, you were 100% right, Rob. If you want to get a great example, this is what turned me off of comics back in the 90s. Clone Saga Spider-Man, when he had
Oh
like
my
6
God.
running series.
Yep,
Yeah.
that killed me.
That was
Man,
the worst
I don't
with
even
no
try. Like, I don't even try to read that. Like, I told Sal, like, I was screwing around with them the other day when you guys were live streaming. I was like, dude, Maximum Security. Maximum Security was awful. Like, it was a terrible series.
Dude, I'm telling you, Sal. Deadpool Corps.
Deadpool Corps.
Don't like Deadpool.
I'm gonna keep pushing it.
All right.
So this is like
read
me.
it.
This is like me and the all new X-Men. Am I the only one who reads Deadpool also?
I mean, I need to get caught up on all new X-Men if it seems that good, but no.
I mean,
All new X-Men is incredible.
I mean, stories have
Deadpool-
definitely gotten better. I mean, Maximum Security was Ron and the Accuser showing up on the Earth, and he was like, "The Earth is now a prison planet." And it's like, okay, like this is stupid. I mean,
Yeah.
that was basically the
what?
story. So yeah, so I mean, like stories have definitely gotten better. But if all new X-Men is as good as you say, then I'll definitely have to get caught up on it. So,
Yeah, it's
Deadpool's
fun.
good.
I mean, it's written by Bendis, and it's got great art.
God, Bendis, man, that guy does not write bad stories.
Nope.
No,
Oh,
Bendis, and he knows how to wrap his stories up well. He doesn't
Yeah.
just leave them all hanging in funky tangents and stuff.
Yeah.
Grant Morrison.
Somebody said that in the chat, like when you were talking about like all the craziness going on. Somebody was like, "It's just Morrison being Morrison."
Yeah, that's right.
Dude,
It's just
okay.
Morrison.
Grant Morrison has written some great stuff. When you have him on rails, when you say Grant Morrison, write me the Arkham Asylum origin, we get a mosaic picture of Batman in the background and some guy wearing a woman's dress. When you go Grant Morrison, can you do another Crisis? You just blew. No, dude. The #1 most requested video on my channel until I did it was Final Crisis because I couldn't follow it. I had to call Sal and
happens,
sort out
man?
my notes. I sat here for 4 months doing that script, and it took me calling Sal going, okay, I got notes.
Yeah.
What the heck is this?
Yeah, Benny's not lying
Yeah.
either, guys. Like we would get on and like we would just have random conversations. Like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm still trying to figure out Final Crisis.
Yeah.
Like, it's been 3.5 months, man. It's like,
Well,
yeah,
right,
like, it's
the
a
problem with Final
convoluted
Crisis wasn't even so much that the core story itself was difficult. It was how do I cliff note this and what can I take out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like Grant Morrison needs like a little sandbox universe just for
Just
him.
for him. Yeah.
I think
The
he's
Morrison
made
universe.
one.
Yeah.
It's called the
Yeah.
We 3. It's about a bunch of animals who have been experimented on and are crazy, like awesome superheroes. Which, by the way, he also claims is in his Weapon Plus project, which is he invented the Weapon Plus project for Weapon X. So Weapons 3 and 5 are the We 3 animals, but since they belong to Vertigo and not Marvel, he just says, "Oh, it's experimented on animals in my universe."
What?
I'm
Bet
actually
you didn't know
amazed.
that one.
I'm actually amazed that you went in depth as you did with like the Weapon X project. I'm like, did Penny just really like explain all the Weapon X's? Like, really? Like Weapon X, Wolverine. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.
Yeah, exactly.
I almost did that for Groot. When I did the Groot explanation video, I was going to do 2 of them.
Yeah.
And I was going to put them out one right after another. Like Tuesday would be Groot, and then the other, day 2 would be the real Groot. But the first one I was going to do was going to be 10 seconds of me going, "Welcome to Groot, Know Your Universe. I am Groot." And then I was going to end the video and just upload it.
I mean, that's what I did with the One Above All. Like, I was trying to make that video, and then I finished it and I got on. That's why I told Dave, like I just did a video about the One Above All that's like 17 minutes long. He appears in 17 comics. I don't know how I managed to do this,
Yeah.
but I did, and hopefully it's not going to suck. So
No, should be
let's
great.
just see what happens.
You're 100% right, Kenji. The last issue of Final Crisis, you went from planet Earth to space to flashing forward to people telling the story. The whole concept behind Final Crisis is Grant Morrison has this like notion that superheroes are the modern day like Greek gods and Vikings, and there are our big storytellers. So Final Crisis was his way of showing that in the future, they're telling the story of Final Crisis to the children, but it was being told by the superheroes who lived in the adventure.
Okay, up until you got to that part, I was on board. That sounded pretty cool. I like mythology, and
Yeah.
I was like, that sounds neat. Until
No,
you got to
you-
that end part, and which
You don't wanna get into
That's
Final
his running
Crisis.
theory and idea. His running theory and idea is that this is the modern day gods, the modern day mythics. That's how come every time Grant Morrison writes DC superheroes, they are literally gods on Earth.
Yep.
Right.
Like that is how they get portrayed. And in Final Crisis, he just went off the wall. He lost me when he made Superman sing Darkseid to death.
what?
I mean,
Yeah, Darkseid shows up, and we find out that Darkseid hates music. So Superman, to defeat Darkseid, sings at the exact pitch-perfect note, because he's a god, of course, the exact pitch-perfect note that destroys Darkseid's physical body.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting the way they do that stuff. Like we'll get into this, guys, when we talk about Infinity Gauntlet. But people are like, I wonder where like all the gods that exist in the real world, where they rank in the hierarchy in like the Marvel universe. Like they're all Skyfathers, guys. They're not that powerful.
Oh
They
yeah,
can
no,
do some stuff, but they all hang out with Odin pretty much. And that's
I was gonna say, aren't they all Odin guys? That's the whole concept behind Thor and all them is that we've portrayed them as gods, but they're not really gods.
Yeah, you have like Odin, and you have Vishnu, and you have all these people that are just
and that's
like
to some degree it's like Stargate with the whole Egyptian alien thing.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Like,
DC has their own version. They're called the New Gods, and that's Darkseid, Oron, and all them, and they basically have replaced the old gods.
Okay, so explain that to me, because I've heard the idea of the New Gods, but I thought that was like a Superman storyline or something like that. And it was like Superman was one of the new gods or something like that. I don't know.
The concept behind the DC universe is that at the very, very edge of the universe, we have the source wall, and the source wall is what separates every universe and everything from each other. And the source wall at one point decided to kill, because everyone was trying to get to the source wall, and the theory is that if the gods can get to the source wall, they can rule all of humanity. That's what the anti-life equation is. So at some point, the old gods were completely destroyed and gotten rid of by the source wall, and he ushered in the new gods. And the new gods are now on a quest to be you have the good new gods, that's Oron and all them, and then you have the evil ones like Darkseid, who are trying to get the anti-life equation. The anti-life equation is an equation that once you use it, and how you use it has always been portrayed differently, from putting a mark on your head to just knowing it to saying it. Everything has been changed. But once that has been used, you get rid of life in a person. And by what he means by getting rid of life is their free will and choice to do what they want. Yeah. You don't live anymore.
Oh.
Wow.
The only reason I know about that is because of
the Superman
Justice League, the cartoon covered
the source wall, the anti-life equation, Darkseid, the new gods, New Genesis, all
of that.
Orion, everybody. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty. Let's see. Marvel did something similar to that. Like, are you guys familiar with the Beyonder in the Marvel universe?
Well, most of the new gods and stuff that was all created by Jack Kirby way back in the day. Final Crisis was Grant Morrison practically removing. He opened it by killing off all of Jack Kirby's creations.
Yeah.
Wow.
He destroyed all the new gods. They were all killed and sent to Earth as punishment.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Yeah.
Well, in Marvel, I'm not very familiar with him, so Sal might be able to correct me here, but you've got Molecule Man.
Yes.
And I don't know a lot about Molecule Man, but from what I understand, it's been years since I read this. From what I understand, Molecule Man gained his powers, and it punched a hole in the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
And you have like the multiverse, which would be like like this big.
Is that like the Superboy Prime Punch?
No. I mean, like it just like tore a hole basically in like the multiverse. But you have like this like the multiverse is like this big. Then you have like the Beyond verse, which is like everything beyond the multiverse.
Yes,
and that's where the Beyonder comes from.
That was the Secret Wars definition of the Beyonder. Later, they said that he was actually a cosmic cube that gained sentience.
Yeah, but that was after the. That was after the God. What was his name? He used to be the editor-in-chief. He was the one that wrote Secret Wars. That was the Joe. Damn it!
Quesada?
No.
I was gonna say he's pretty recent.
Jim Shooter.
Jim Shooter. There we go. Jim Shooter. Yeah, Jim Shooter was the one. Then they retconned it after Secret Wars Volume 2, I think, or Secret Wars Episode 2, I think it was.
Yeah.
But real quick, I just want to throw this out there, just real quick, because everyone's asking me if I read. Guys, I get my comic books on Thursdays because the local area up here gets them a day after everyone else. So I actually haven't read anything. So asking me questions about the stuff that came out yesterday, don't know. They're all like, wasn't that used in Multiversity? And did you read this? And I'm like, no.
No, I didn't.
It's right here.
What's going on, Ryan? A buddy of mine, Ryan, hit me up in the chat.
Nice.
Okay.
The Beyonder later with the Illuminati, Bendis retconned in that the Beyonder was actually a mutant who was masquerading in the Inhuman city Attilan and exposed himself to the Terrigian mists.
Okay.
And so it was a mutant Inhuman.
Okay.
Who then gained Beyonder-esque powers and became the Beyonder.
Okay. I couldn't remember the entire full back. I knew the Beyonder was like this stupidly super omnipotent.
Yep, and it was like three. He's been three different things, and none of them and nobody likes any of them.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Is you have like a character who's just stupid powerful and just has no real redeeming attributes in his personality.
Nope.
So like nobody cares.
Nope. And I think Bendis wound up putting him in the real world at the end of it.
Oh, okay.
Like Beyonder's like, I'm out, and he leaves. I had a really cool theory that unfortunately they didn't do, but I was on the Bendis board and I was like, I think this is what Bendis is doing, and Bendis is like, that's really cool. No, I didn't do that.
Oh. What was your
Because it was in
theory?
Illuminati. They go to like they're like, okay, we've figured out that in the Illuminati miniseries took place right after Secret War, and the team is like, we need to deal with the Beyonder so this never happens again. And so the Illuminati go find the Beyonder, and they give him a hard time, and the Beyonder is, at this point they've established he's limitlessly powerful, and he can influence things that they don't even know how far reaching it is. And the Beyonder created like a little play world of New York City, and like Luke Cage is there and Spider-Man's there, and like all this stuff's happening, and they're fighting each other. Like the heroes are fighting each other, and he's talking to the Illuminati, and then the Hulk shows up and punches through them. Like he punches them, and they jump out of the way, and Beyonder goes, "Oh, I hadn't planned that event," and it was right before World War Hulk interrupted all the other stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he just foreshadowed World War Hulk. Like maybe all like Civil War, Hulk, like House of M, World War Hulk, they're all just the Beyonder creating these events happening. Like the Beyonder made gave Scarlet Witch the power to actually make House of M happen. The Beyonder set the Hulk's ship to go to War World, and the Beyonder like made the ship explode and killed this like Sakaar and his wife and shit. Like that the Beyonder was in fact the reason for all the current Marvel stories happening.
God, that would have been such a damn good ending.
Right? What a neat
God,
thing.
that
And then they would have just had to go and
amazing.
dealt with him, and like, nope. And then at the end of it, they're like, he goes to the real world. Like they photo-statted like an image of Times Square, New York, at that moment that they were writing the comic, and they put him there, and he was like, "Where was I? Oh yes, the world." And the implication was that the Beyonder like left the Marvel Universe, came to the real world, and started screwing with things there. And I'm like, that ties in with my theory, because now he's done creating Marvel events, and now he's going to come to the real world and like make us invade Iraq and stuff. Like he's going to make the real world.
You really are going to
Dude,
line up the
God,
invasion
man.
of Iraq to the Beyonder.
Well, you know, like something that like made no sense, and like why would we do that? And it's like because the Beyonder made it happen. Like, you know.
Dude, Sal, I would take like
The
I gotta take my hat
incursion.
off, dude. That would
Thank
be
you. I
such
thought that
a
was.
good
I was
series.
like, oh, I'm clever.
Dude, if Bendis had come out and
I'm
said that, like at the end of
clever.
New Avengers, if he had said like everything that's transpired after like the Secret Wars with Jim Shooter, like this is all the work of the Beyonder, that
Yep.
would have been amazing.
Yeah, that would have been like, what?
That would have been so
That
good.
could
I'm
have
actually
been their
disappointed that he
crisis.
didn't
That
do
could have been their way of being like, well, we got rid of the Beyonder, so now the world's going to reset to the time after Secret Wars. That could have
would
been their.
cool.
That could have been their crisis.
That would have been really, really good. Yeah,
They
the
would have been
Beyonder
like, oh,
was-
Spider-Man
that-
never
that-
got married. The X-Men never like ran into the Phoenix. They could have redone the Phoenix saga. Oh, so
Yeah.
much could have been done.
so much they could do. Yeah,
But they didn't.
Well, they didn't.
dude, Kenji's
Oh.
right, man. Kenji's like, Sal needs to write for Marvel. You need to write for Marvel.
Thank you,
man. Like,
Kenji.
that would be cool.
Write to Marvel and tell them about that.
If you happen to have the address to Bendis, let him know that Sal is looking for a job. So with Marvel, he would like to be employed by Marvel. He's got some great ideas for storylines involving the Beyonder.
I live about 45 minutes away from Marvel. I will run papers. I don't care.
Sal, he gets you the job. You're the mail boy.
I mean,
take
I
it.
would take that job. Hell,
Yeah,
man, work
I'm
at
in.
Marvel HQ. Yeah.
Dan Slott pretended to be a student. He lied on his his intern application, and he became an intern for a school he didn't go to. And he made a bunch of friends, and then they were like, "Hey, what school do you go?" And like, "Hey, when you turn 18, you can work here. Like, it's too bad you're in school. When you get out, you can work here." And he goes, "Oh, I don't go to school. I'm actually like 19." And they were like, "What?" And he's like, "I got you." And they're like, "Ooh, that's a great story. Okay, you can stay." Like, that'll never work again.
Yeah.
And maybe we will actually check the recommendations the next time.
We were gonna call people now. Yeah.
But yeah, God, that would have been.
So
Man, that
to
would've been
real
so good.
that was probably our craziest tangent we've ever had.
Yeah, that
that
was
came
good.
out of Future's End discussion. And ended with Sal using the Beyonder to fix the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
man, that would have been a damn good story.
Yeah.
That would have been a damn good ending to this story.
Yeah, I'm
So-
surprised. Like, I'm surprised he didn't take it.
I know. So okay, so basically we've established now Axis is going to be awesome from the looks of things, and if it isn't, we'll be very disappointed. We're all hoping it's not going to be like the original Sin situation.
Yeah.
Future's End is up in the air. Like, do we care? Tiffany, you're perfect. No, because you don't buy DC right now.
That's true. That's true.
Is seeing a bunch of new number ones with the tag Future's End going to make you go pick it up? There must be at least one DC superhero you enjoy. If you go there and see that book, it
That's
says
gonna be
number
the one
one.
where they have the new Batgirl costume.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, like, look, when New 52 first came out, I initially gravitated immediately towards Batwoman, and then Sal explained to me that they didn't really reset that, so then I was like, oh, crap, now I gotta go back and read all this.
There's a few of them they didn't reset.
Yeah, they didn't
Yeah.
reboot that one.
So, I mean, yeah, a number one sometimes will draw me to it. I mean, the problem I have with DC is because of the fact that their characters tend to be a little more lofty in heights and maybe not as grounded in reality. I sometimes find them a little hard to approach. Now, with my background in animated cartoons and my love of, like, you know, Batman animated series and Superman and Justice League, like, I would probably give them a chance, but, like, I don't know if it would make a reader out of me, especially if we're dealing with time jumps, and then I feel like I have to know what happened beforehand if they're referencing any, you know what I mean? Like,
Right, yeah.
it just seems like I'm coming into the very beginning of a mess, and I don't necessarily want to clean it up.
That I imagine is probably the biggest issue. And even then, like, you know, with like DC or Marvel, if right now you went out and bought a bunch of number ones, and then in 3 years you see new number ones, then I imagine the first question would be like, didn't they just have a bunch of number ones? Like,
Yeah,
Didn't we just do that?
It would make me feel a little
Well-
betrayed, like, oh, I thought you like we're doing something special just for new readers, and now it's like, well, no, I mean, like, we have new readers.
Well,
Let's
you're
see if we
old
can
readers
get
now.
let's
Well,
get some new
I got a
readers.
great example of one thing. And maybe Sal, did you read Teen Titans before?
No.
Here's a great example of them betraying the readers. So Teen Titans had a great run before. It went 30-something issues.
Yep.
It had a beginning, a middle, an end, a whole story arc, everything.
In the New 52.
In the New 52. It was great. They finished the story arc, and they said, we're doing it again.
Yep.
And we now have Teen Titans number 2. Now, what irritates me, this isn't like the Suicide Squad reboot, where we pretty much changed out most of the team except Harley Quinn and Deadshot.
Yeah.
Right.
This is the same Teen Titans. This is literally
Yeah.
the same team.
Yeah, I was just we reviewed the first one, like 2 weeks ago, as Teen Titans number 1 for Off the Rack, and I was like, this is the second reboot of the Teen Titans
Right.
from the New 52, and they're like,
Yeah.
why? And I'm like, I don't know.
There was no reason. The story arc ended great. If you wanted to reboot the book, how about we change up the team a little?
Yeah,
The
no.
only difference is Superboy's not on it because he died.
I mean, dude, if you want to see a frustration when it comes to reading stories, man, go read Power Pack. Like, Power Pack is
I read the original Power Pack. Like,
Power Pack's special. Yeah, like old school. Yeah, back in the day, Power Pack with like the unicorn or the horse or whatever his name was.
Yep.
What was he? He was like a chameleon or something like that.
I don't remember the unicorn. I just remember like the team and like the random team ups they tried to force in because they weren't selling well, and
Yeah,
like
it was awful. It's like a bunch of like toddlers basically. Like
really
using
weird.
superpowers. Yeah, it's
8 or 9 year olds being superheroes.
Yeah, that's basically it. Like it's
That
awful.
works.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine that down the road, like a couple months, if Marvel keeps rebooting every like 12 issues or something, it's just gonna be a nightmare for collectors.
Yeah.
Like
Well, it is.
that
I
don't
stopped
pick
getting
up
number
like a
ones.
weekly or a monthly comic.
Mhm.
Like, okay, this is Iron Man issue number 6. Why are there like 12 different covers? Oh wait, that's because this is issue number 6 from like January, whereas this is issue number 6 from last November. It's gonna get really confusing for people
I'm sure it
who
already
want to
is.
pick up back issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, it is. And actually, I used to collect number ones, and if a new number one came out, I'd always get it. And I've actually told my comic shop, just stop pulling them, because
Yeah.
I can't afford 10 new number ones every month. It's just
No.
Yeah.
not
and-
if I'm getting my current books.
Yeah.
And
No,
that's why I like Marvel so much, because again, back to Richard Rider. If all you really want to do is understand Richard Rider when he returns, if you want to play catch up, there's 3 stories you need to read. The first one is where Richard Rider gains his powers. The second one is Richard Rider during Annihilation when the entire Nova Corps dies, and the third one is a Thanos imperative, and that'll catch you up on everything you need to know about Richard Rider. There's 3 stories. That's it. And then you can pick up Richard Rider. I assume they're going to do like a Marvel Now Richard Rider #1.
Well, they probably won't even need. You probably won't even need to pick up the new Richard Rider. You have the old Richard Rider. They'll probably explain the majority of it. Because what I think I do like about Marvel that they don't do in DC is every Marvel book has that little prequel thing at the beginning. Yeah. Here's what you missed if you haven't been reading. Yeah.
Really important.
Cool thing.
Yeah, I rely on that heavily.
Because half the books that I'm reading, like the Incursions, I didn't read when it launched. I jumped in like 12 issues late. And the explanation page caught me up enough that I understood what was going on. Yeah. I was good to go. I didn't need to go looking for 12 other issues.
Yeah.
Do you think that if they put more emphasis on putting the story arc title on the books and numbering those and leaving the run just keep going if they're not rebooting a whole universe, that would work better and make it less invalid what they've done? Like 3 years ago, for example, with the New 52, like instead of renumbering the #1s for this upcoming Future's End arc, if they just were like, we're just going to call it Future's End, and like we're going to make that more prevalent on the cover so that you understand this is a good jumping off point, but we're going to leave our numbers regular. Like, wouldn't that satisfy both? Like
what I think they should do with the way the pretty much the entertainment industry has become now is we need to and they're kind of going in this direction now, but I think they're going a little too crazy with it. Teen Titans, the reboot, that we should be doing comic series almost as seasons now.
Yeah.
That's how they should be treating it.
Yeah.
And not on a willy-nilly, we're going to do Gambit #1, Magneto #1, and all these different #1s, and then just maybe they'll work out. Like, legitimately, Gambit's going to have 1 through 8. This is volume 29, Gambit X, Gambit Awesome, Gambit whatever you want to call it. And then we'll just do another book in a minute, right as soon as that's done with a new story arc. And that would make it so easy to understand where your jumping off point is. Because one thing that I ran into with a lot of people, and we had discussed this a few episodes back of the podcast, is when Forever Evil ended, I was telling people the issue 31 is a great starting point for DC now because it's all new stories. But I still have to tell you, 31,
Yeah.
Yeah, and Marvel used to be really bad about that back in the day. Like Sal knows about this, but back when they used to have like Strange Tales and all that kind of stuff, like they numbered it up to 150 something, 160 something with Doctor Strange, and then when all of a sudden it was like Doctor Strange issue number 100 and something, and you were like, what happened to the last 100 issues? And it was like, well, those are all Strange Tales. So people were like, oh, okay, I understand. So Marvel's getting better about that.
Right.
But the problem again is if you sit down and if I say, hey, check out Magneto #1, you're gonna be like, okay, I mean, I guess we get the backstory of Magneto. But what happened to like all the other stories that Magneto was involved in, and where do you start from there, and all that kind of stuff, and that's what causes the problem.
I think the old comic book mentality is the bigger the number, the bigger the pedigree. Spider-Man's got 600 issues. You can trust Spider-Man because he's been here for 600 issues.
Yep.
While the new mentality for comic books is a #1's going to sell this book. Everyone knows that they can jump in here. Even if you don't know Magneto's history, you know that at least the core story arc is going to be 1 through whatever we go to.
Yeah. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, but
I was gonna say.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I will sit here and be silent. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I'd love to see their sales projections after the #1 to see how many people they retain after selling a number, like making such a big deal about here are my #1s.
Yeah.
All right, well, how many people did you retain to #2? And I mean literally retain, not who just picked up the #2 because they missed the #1. I mean literally who bought #1 and then went out and was like, when 2 comes out, I'm getting 2, and then 3, and then they're on down. Like,
to see what the diminishing returns are for that.
Yeah. It's an interesting circumstance because, like, God knows, like, I tried to turn my girlfriend on to comic books, and she was like, no. Like, that shit's not happening because it's a daunting task. I mean, if I say, hey, let's, do you want to check out Spider-Man? Like, she's going to look, I'm going to say, okay, here's the most recent issue of Spider-Man, like Spider-Man #1 or whatever it is. Before that, it's Spider-Man number 611. or something.
Yeah.
And like, if you're not a constant comic book reader, then God knows that when you sit down and you try to read from a character and you try to pick up with the old stuff as well as the new stuff, you just end up in this great big huge convoluted complicated world and you don't know where to go. So number ones are cool, but the problem with a person sitting down and saying, okay, let's read issue number 1, they want to know about the old stuff, even if they never really read it. Like, they want to know about the old stories of Magneto. Like, why is it that Magneto is so popular now that we're even doing a Magneto? Because this is the first standalone Magneto series that I've ever heard of in Marvel Comics.
Yeah,
Magneto
it's really good,
1.
though.
Yeah, I saw your back issues, I think. Or off the rack, way back when, with Magneto number 1. You guys were saying it was amazing, which I
was really
check
cool.
it out. But
well, you know what I think it is, though? I think they would rather pull someone in with Magneto number 1, and you read it and go, wow, this guy's cool, I want to know the history, and then you go look for the trades, than trying to convince someone to go get Magneto number 508, or go get Magneto who's got a story arc inside of Uncanny Avengers for the next 3 issues. You know?
Exactly.
Right. It's interesting you mentioned the trades, because that's how he would give me Spider-Man books in trades, because like I don't have to worry about the number then. Like the book will explain it to me, and that's all I need to know, and here it is, and I read the Spider-Man story, and there we go. And then, you know, what's next, or what came before if I care. But like,
and that's why I actually wait for the hardcovers and the trades to come out, because I don't need to bother. Like, if I don't have money or I don't feel like going to the comic store or something, like every Wednesday, for example.
Why would you not?
I don't have
to.
to.
Comic book store every
Why would you not visit your local B&M?
What? You should be going to the brick and mortar.
No, of course. Like, I know the trades does hurt the industry to some degree, because, you know, if there's a new book out there, I know that they won't know that anyone has any interest in it until
after it's already canceled. Also, I'll buy the trade on Amazon for $3 instead of $15, and so I won't spend like the $100 for the 13 issues or whatever. Like,
have you seen the latest trend though? They used to do it a little bit, but now they're doing a lot more. But they're releasing straight to trade graphic novels now.
That's great. I think it's the way to go. I think it's where it's going.
I mean, what Dave does makes the most sense to me. Like, Dave sits down and waits until like the entire series is finished and says, "Okay, I'll buy the omnibus now." Like, I'm not going to buy every single issue.
And so some of the creators, I did the same thing. Batman Zero Year, I'm not reading.
It helps filtering out the crappy storylines too. But like, if something's not important, then I haven't invested $15, $20 in it.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, it just comes down to, you know, like the elitist thing. Like, I have the omnibus. Well, I have all the trades. Like, okay, well, you just spent $100 extra you didn't need to. So
exactly.
Whatever.
Well, I have all the individuals.
Yeah, Dave. Like, you just spent $100 extra you didn't need to, Dave.
Well, no, not Dave. I'm talking about you, Benny.
I have the omnibus. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. Like,
I have the issues. This is even more money for less info.
That's what we're saying.
But yeah,
no, that's because I'm impatient. I don't want to know what's going to happen. I don't want to wait 5 months. I'll forget the whole storyline even happened, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I've been experiencing that getting into Saga now. I'm like, I hate this. I hate it so much having to wait. Like, usually everything I get from him is in a trade or it's all over. I'm like, great, now
I'm just waiting month to month.
And now
every
I wait for the trade. I can't do that. I cannot do that as a weekly release or a monthly release. Because also, the guy who writes Saga is really lazy and misses that deadline a lot.
Yeah, indie books are terrible for being like delayed printing and
it's
like
killing me, but I still buy it.
Yeah, because it's great. It's just,
another thing is like the print shops don't have the budgets that Marvel does to print a hardcover book a month after the storyline's done. They need like 3 or 4 months to print a hardcover after the storyline's done, because it takes them a lot more time.
I mean, it's just one of those interesting things, you know, like it's some of the cooler things that you just don't get caught up on when you pick up the new number ones. Like, if I say, what do you know about the fact that Magneto is actually not as old as he seems like he is?
Yeah.
That he was de-aged at one point in time.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What?
Magneto was de-aged at one. There was some villain that he fought.
He was
or something
Joseph.
Like that. Was it Joseph?
Well, he became Joseph.
Oh, yeah. No. There was one point where he fought a villain who made him younger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that
was their way of making him...
That seems like a really good villain to fight.
He's gonna make you young.
Yeah.
Hey, just go pick a fight.
Oh, I'm gonna make you younger, old man.
Oh, no.
I'm feeling a bit peckish. I'd like you to make me younger. Can you?
Let's fight.
Just walk up and punch him in the face.
Yeah.
What's going on, asshole?
Yeah.
All right, I think we're on 1,001 crazy tangents, and we've now exceeded the longest podcast we've ever done.
What are we at right now? Like 2 hours?
and a half.
It'll be 240 by the time we wrap up because it ain't
Wow.
gonna happen in 2 minutes.
Okay, well, I guess we'll put off Inhumans yet again for another time.
Oh no, I'll cover this because I had
Yeah, you know what?
I
You
had
can
a
wrap up
legitimate
Inhumans in half a
argument.
second.
I can do it because I had a legitimate argument with Dave and Rob, and Rob thought I was yelling at him, and then he yelled at me, and we got a huge ass argument. Rob threw books at me, I threw books at Rob. Dave was like, mommy and daddy are fighting. It was funny.
Think of the children.
And Sal was just like, what is going on?
I'm like, hey guys, what's up?
They wanted to talk about this. So I'm going to tell you. Vin Diesel said in passing that Marvel thinks he may be inhuman by giving him 2 roles. Due to this, everyone thinks that Vin Diesel was going to be blackballed. Discuss.
Confirmed. It's confirmed.
Go.
It is
Maybe.
confirmed that Vin Diesel is going to be blackballed because he said that he might have the chance to do it.
Well,
No, that's not confirmation of anything.
Yeah.
Hey Rob,
That sounds
hey
cool.
Rob,
I'd see
I might
that.
be Superman in the next Batman Superman movie.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Well,
You need like rob a money truck and just give us all the money.
I'm sure
man,
he's gonna be
they
involved
must
in
be
something. I know
really
he's a
slim
nerd.
on the
Yeah.
budget for that next movie.
Smaller
I
budget.
mean, I think that Vin Diesel can make a pretty effective Black Bolt.
I agree.
No,
Yes, I agree.
I'm sure, and the fact that he loves nerdy things
Yeah, helps.
does help significantly. So maybe the fact that he chose those words specifically
Oh, he did that
speaks
on purpose.
volume. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's not that he's Black Bolt, but he could be any.
He's gonna be Lockjaw. He's gonna be the voice of Lockjaw.
Oh, dude, that would
Yeah.
be so awesome. A teleporting dog.
So
But see-
here's the thing though is I think it's only fair of Marvel to offer him a better role than Groot as well. Because only saying I am Groot and not being able to convey much of any facial expressions either.
Mm.
Well,
No,
I mean,
you know what I
Black
think
Bolt's
happens?
not that
I think-
different, man. Like Black Bolt never talks.
Yeah.
So if he does
Well-
play back Black Bolt, it would have to be like whoever that plays Medusa would have to be like the best actress ever, because
Right.
she interprets everything he says.
But
Yeah.
another
You know
thing
what, though?
is
They could easily do an inner monologue with him. But secondly, I guarantee you the Groot thing was like a side thing. I think he was probably signed on to do his Inhumans role, which is probably
Yeah.
why.
Dude, Benny, that is such a good point. If they had Vin Diesel playing Black Bolt and he does inner monologue the whole time, I would point to Pitch Black because his inner monologue at the beginning of that movie was so amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Like, God, it was
Well-
so good.
and another thing is if he doesn't talk at all, that takes a great amount of skill to convey a performance with just your face.
Yeah.
That
think
says a
he-
lot about your acting
Well,
talent.
that's what he did with
if
Groot.
That-
They motion capped his face
Yeah.
onto the giant wood tree thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't
just say
know.
I feel like Disney should purchase the Riddick franchise and just throw him into the Guardians of the Galaxy universe.
Man, that would be so. Just have
That would
run
be
around
pretty
with like
cool,
2
that-
knives and just just
Right? They
stab
could just
people.
run into him.
Him and Drax are comparing knives. Oh,
I mean,
That'd be
you got a
awesome,
bigger
man.
knife. Oh,
That
it was over your head
franchise got to
too.
be like $30 to buy from him, right? I mean,
I mean, I want to see that. I want to see like Riddick versus Thanos. I want to see who would win.
Right?
It's such a beastly fight.
Riddick versus Thanos movie
Okay,
confirmed,
all right.
guys. You've heard it here.
So I'm just proving my point because they said that we'd have plenty to talk about. We're now discussing Riddick versus versus
There you
Thanos.
go.
We're not even discussing Black Bolt Inhumans announcement anymore.
No, it's true.
So
We're
just
trying to wrap it up, Benny.
Well, We'll
We're
say
trying
this,
to wrap it up, man.
it is a waste of a great voice to make him Black
Black
Bolt.
It really. I mean, in all
No,
honesty,
except for the one thing he says.
the one thing he says.
Yeah, and it'll be really
No.
nice to be
He's
waiting.
going to
No.
say one thing. It'll be no, yes, or fudge off.
Just scream at him. I mean, I would love to see how Marvel would do that with Black Bolt just screaming at somebody. Or like, I mean, it'd be curious. Like, are they going to use like the new Black Bolt and like where he can scream and annihilate planets, or is it just going to be like the
Probably
old
not.
Black Bolt where he screams and just knocks people unconscious, you know, or something
I don't
like
know.
that? I mean, either way though, it'd be pretty interesting. But anyway, we need to wrap this up. So,
I need to get some sleep.
what does everybody have going on for the next week or so?
Well, we
Sounds
are
good.
going to be exhibiting at the Garden State Comic Fest this Saturday on August 23rd at the Morristown Hyatt. We'll be having a booth there. We will be doing a live back issues at 11 a.m. Hopefully going to be filming it, but, you know, there's who knows what might happen. So I want to say that just in case people want to go, and so we'll be doing that, and we're shooting Off the Rack Back Issues Busted tonight. I actually have to leave in 15 minutes to do that.
So I timed the ending of this one well.
You did. So we're doing that, and our fan-voted episode of Back Issues came out today, which was Siege.
Oh, I lost.
God.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you know what? We may do Secret War today.
Siege was such a great story.
Yeah.
Deadpool core.
I'll put it
I'm
in my
gonna
list,
say
man.
that
I
in-
promise.
Deadpool core.
I just love the way he's doing it. Like, he whispers over to Sal, like we're sitting next to each other.
You have a camera. I can see you say
Deadpool core.
You actually appear.
Nobody but Sal can hear me. Hey, Sal, what's
Nice.
going on? Rob's unbelievable, huh?
Internet magic, man. It's internet magic. You can see people.
Yeah.
They talk. You can hear them. It's crazy.
Dave, what do you
That's
got
over
going
a
on?
little house.
Well,
Is a video
for one
coming out?
thing, for one thing, I have 3 new videos out on my channel
Oh.
because I went from being completely dry as a desert to completely like downpouring torrent in terms of the videos I'm releasing. So I did the Ice Bucket Challenge. Benny challenged me to that. And I also have Civil War Avengers and Spider-Man out. I'm going to continue that with some, I guess, less important books to collect, but I'm going to make videos on them anyways because that makes it a complete collection. I'm going to do probably Fantastic Four and Frontlines this coming week. And Robert over here feels like Frontlines was really good, and I have to agree, but
Frontlines was amazing. Yeah.
it was.
Shh, whatever.
It was a
It
was a good
don't
book.
even
No, it was,
start.
it was.
Don't even start.
Aw.
Civil War Frontlines was so good.
No, it was.
It was a good book to read, but it didn't have a lot of weight on the story as a whole.
It wasn't supposed
Yeah.
to. It was just supposed to be from the perspective of journalists.
Exactly.
Then it was
That
good.
was cool.
And then there was a giant Howard the Duck issue at the back of it, which totally made the collection for me.
Howard
Yeah.
the Duck, man. What a goofy ass character.
All right. I've been postponing it for a while, but I think I'm going to probably put out Avengers Disassembled and Deadpool for my next 2 videos. And then we're doing a new series over on the channel now, Indie Books. It comes out every Monday-ish. Because nobody here covers indie books, so I got to do it.
Yeah. We would do it, but nobody freaking watches them.
Like,
Hey.
no, I'm working on that.
Everybody's
all
everybody's so
positive comments.
elitist, man. Like,
It's all positive comments from like the 10 people that watched it.
Yeah. Not only that, but like I really wanted to do at least one issue. I wanted to do one episode a week of Off the Rack where we do an indie book. We would blast it out to the indie creators, like, "Hey, man, we're doing a review of your book. We're promoting it." No response, no care across the board, whether they were unpublished people or like Warren Ellis. No one gave a crap. I was like, well, then you know what? Screw you, independent books. We'll just do Aquaman. It'll be Aqua Show. Since apparently people love Aquaman.
well, this actually creates some cool stuff. Of course, we're gonna finish up Infinity Gauntlet. We're gonna do like lead up, so we'll have the Living Tribunal up soon. If you guys want to know about all the other cosmic entities, Eternity and the Watchers and stuff like that, you can watch the Cosmic Entities video. And then we'll do the Thanos quest, then the Infinity Gauntlet, and Warlock and the Infinity Watch. But because Benny's going to be doing the Avengers Disassembled storyline, that will lead us into the House of M, which is something
Finally.
that I will do. Finally, which I will do a video.
I've been
on.
waiting. You love this story so much. I've been waiting.
I
You guys-
love the House.
Sitting
God,
here
I
waiting.
love the House of M so much.
Every
Do you
time I
guys
talk to
mind
you,
if I hitch a ride on that
I mean, have at it, man.
and do my House of M collection when you guys
There we
do
go.
that?
Do a House
Yeah,
of
man.
M Sheboygan.
Yeah, dude.
Yes.
Do them all at the
Also,
same time.
Rob, we were debating how to do this, but I'm going to throw this out there now. But with Original Sin wrapping up next month, Rob is actually going to do a current storyline explanation, and I'm going to do the
Nice.
Cliff Notes version.
Yes.
Smart.
I finally convinced Rob to talk about something he actually reads.
Yes, and that's the whole point
Reads
of moving
present,
forward with
yeah.
the House of M. That's the whole reason why we're doing House of M, because we're gonna start with the House of M and move forward and get into actually like some current shit. So we
Yeah.
we did Civil War, we did House of M. That'll lead us into Dark Reign, the Siege, all that kind of stuff, and then we'll actually get into the Marvel Now stuff and we'll get the hell out of the 1980s.
Totally.
By the way, I
I
was
was
going to
waiting
go
to
on record
regress
and
even
saying,
further to like the 70s and the 60s.
Yeah,
Maybe
man.
the first Fantastic Four.
Oh, we're gonna
Wow,
we're gonna go
yeah,
all
that'd
the way
be
back to
timely.
timely comics, man. We're gonna go back to funny comics.
I just wanted to go on record and saying I did
Peanuts.
House of M months ago, so you can
Oh,
always
wow.
check out our House of M.
In that case.
Hey, Rob, you need to do a Peanuts explained.
Oh yeah, Peanuts. Charlie Brown explained.
Like,
Dude,
yeah,
you-
with Snoopy.
You just totally told me what I'm doing for April Fool's next year.
Charlie Brown.
I'm
Well,
already
now you
playing out my
ruined it.
And what
Halloween
we see
episode.
here
My
is that
Halloween
Charlie
episode
Brown
is
gets
Marvel
a football
Zombies.
pulled out from under him.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I have Marvel Zombies done.
Well, yeah, whatever. I'm doing it for Halloween.
I mean,
I'll
I
do
have
it
some of
Halloween.
Marvel. I don't have like the full Marvel Zombies.
Oh, I'm doing all of it. I'm doing all of it.
The full
We are-
Marvel
I
Zombies
have
is
I have
crazy.
the 1,200-page omnibus.
for Marvel
Nice.
Zombies.
I might
Well,
do
aren't-
that
aren't you
for Halloween.
elitist?
Yeah. Mm.
Oh, good. Your omnibus is fine.
Yeah, man, that'd be the way to do it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, if we're all wrapped up, I think I speak for everybody here when I say that Tiffany definitely needs to come back for the
I
podcast.
agree.
Thank you so much. I had
Thank
such
you.
a good time.
We loved having you on here, and yeah, so we're 2 hours and 46 minutes into this. My God.
Longest episode ever. And
Hope-
wait,
hope
I'm
you
going to
guys liked
disclaimer
it.
this. No, I'm going to disclaimer this real quick right now. This probably won't happen every week.
Probably not, guys.
I have
Probably
to
not.
say this though, we do have 50 people watching this.
Yeah, the
Yeah, you,
retention's
you
really
guys are
like-
amazing. You've been here the whole time, but only 23 of you liked this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What? All right.
I'm suffering through it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, yeah. So I guess we're gonna call it a night.
Yeah.
Cool.
See ya.
support your
Catch you
local
guys
comic book store and don't
Yes.
buy Features End so they stop ordering it.
Later on, guys.